I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, degenerate sleuths of the night. We gather to boldly go where others have refused. Welcome to the DT Show, you salty mofos.
A man accused of killing 4 college students is behind bars, and he has ties to northeastern and central Pennsylvania. State police say 28-year-old Brian Koberger was arrested this morning in a home in Chestnut Hill Township.
I can't find any case law that would support that idea. That somehow a warrant would be needed for DNA left at a crime scene.
We are expecting to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
So, the Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel.
So, get your popcorn ready and your choice of drink. Get your butt on your seat. Like, comment, and subscribe for a treat. Here we go. It's time for the show. The Drunk Turkey Show.
That intro don't wake you up. I don't know what will. Welcome back to the DT Show, guys. We're covering we're going to have some special guests. We're covering the Jack&Lilly disappearance. We're going to have Sunny from It's a Crime and Shame and her friend Charmaine. I believe they work together on the channel, but we'll find out a little bit more as soon as I bring them on. But before we do, I want to remind you guys to hit the like button, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. We're over 50K. We're almost halfway there, if not already over halfway there to 51K just this week. So subscriptions are going up. I appreciate that. I know we've been covering the Brian Koberger case, and tomorrow myself and Dr. Vona will be back on, and we'll be going over the crime scene photos. And then Monday, I'm going to have Steve from True Crime Web on the channel. We're going to be discussing the crime scene photos. He's a former CSI, retired CSI, works with helping out a lot of cold cases. He's going to go over some of these pictures of the crime scene. We're going to dissect and look into what it is that some of these things mean. I know there's a lot of questions as far as lack of blood, blood splatter on certain places, those type of things. Well, he's the man that can answer all those questions. So we're going to have him on Monday night. So you guys like, comment, subscribe. You guys know what to do. So without further ado, let's get into today's conversation and let's bring on today's guests. We have Sunny and we have Charmaine. How's it going, guys?
Good.
I'm doing well. Another day in paradise, so to speak. It was actually, I had some problems at work, so I actually got the day off. So it's been a pretty nice day.
All right.
Excellent.
I was going to say,
Yes.
hey, nice to be here. Thanks, Daniel.
I appreciate that. It's good to have you guys. Thank you. And I know we're dual streaming this. And so for those that are watching on It's a Crime and Shame channel, howdy, I'm Daniel from the DT Show. Recently, though, we got some stars on the panel. I saw a Global Mail article, and it featured your channel, Crime and Shame. Did you know that was going to happen, Sonny? Were you aware that you were going to be in the article, or was that kind of caught off guard?
Well, it was a last minute thing that I knew because Lindsay had talked to me. And then that's when she said, just so you know, I put your channel in the article. And I'm like, Oh, really? Okay. Because again, awareness for Jack and Lily and any cases of the missing and murdered. So it did mean a lot, of course. Yeah.
That's awesome. I saw it. One thing though, it says that you provocatively rant. What does
Yes,
that mean?
yes. Because I'm always going off on these rants because if you know me, I hate lying and stuff like that. And when I'm pissed off I go on these rants, right? Where I'm just like, poking the bear, or it's the case. It's about two missing children, and I can't believe what's going on with this case. So yeah, I go on these provocative rants for sure. No.
That's a really nice way to put it, actually.
That was a nice way to put it.
I was like, I wonder what this means, because these are two words I don't think I've ever thought I would hear side by side.
No. To be honest, I didn't even know that was said until you just said that now, to be honest. Like, meaning I don't remember exactly what was said, but provocative rant would describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I read it. I was like, oh, that's some good stuff. I wonder what they think.
Yeah.
A lot of explosive stuff, in my opinion, that has come out in this article, and just to kind of catch up. So you guys introduced me to the case. You guys introduced to me. We had a stream on your channel, and I got a lot of information. And since then, I've watched quite a few interviews. I rewatched some of the interviews, and I read this article, and I think I've kind of gotten a little bit of a better understanding of the case and things of that nature. But so Sonny, you were the person in the article. Were you aware of everything that was in there, or was any of this stuff new to you?
There was quite a bit of stuff so I would say that there was stuff that we minimally knew about, and then it was more, I would say, exposed in the article. I was kind of jaw dropped by this article. I thought it was an amazing article. I felt like it needed to come out. And yeah, so no, I was kind of caught off guard by the picture of Jack with his little black eye there, and to hear that there was I already knew about two, but even to hear about more, the neighbor, and about the car driving 6 times allegedly during 12 to 5 a.m., about the clothing and going to school, that they weren't well kept. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that even added more to this case that I thought was very heartbreaking and but very significant as well.
Yeah, it definitely was. Just to kind of run down for those that aren't aware of this case, Jack and Lily disappeared in early May, and there's I guess some different type of stories that have gone out there by the stepfather, Daniel Martell, as far as whether or not early that morning Lily made entry into their bedroom a couple of times. I think he said that that was fairly recent, right? And that was something that was changed. That wasn't something he had said early on. Is that correct?
No, he had said that right away. What
he
had
did?
changed recently was, yeah, he did right away. He said that Lily had popped her head in and out a couple of times between 8 and 8:30. Recently, he made a comment in a chat group that both him and Malaya saw Lily the morning of the disappearance, but that's the first time we heard that out of anybody. So that's the only thing that's changed with that statement.
I'll add to that. So at first when the story came out, he didn't say Lily popped her head in and out. That came very soon after the first story. There was nothing about Lily popping in and out at first. Then that came out rather quickly after that. And then again, recently it's changed. Nowhere has Malaya ever said that she's seen the kids that morning, only heard them. So it's a forever changing story, and it's enough to make your head spin. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's some minor changes. Yes. Because I mean, obviously if Lily popped in and he was in there with Malaya, then one could assume that Malaya also saw Lily, wouldn't you think?
You would think if she would have ever said that, but she never did. So ever.
She didn't say much, but I did think that her statement that she did say It seemed to be like I mentioned when I listened to it with you guys. It was the first time I went back. I've actually listened to it like 2 or 3 times. It sounded very scripted to me, but it came from, to me, it sounds like she had a lot of conversations with law enforcement. Like she was going back and forth with them about the possibilities of what had happened, and she was trying to relay that information after what they have gone back and forth with. That's kind of where I got it from. But the Global Mail brought up some interesting things though, and it was the fact that she contacted the biological grandmother, the paternal grandmother, quite a bit after the disappearance. Something that's kind of a little bit uncommon. What did you guys think about that? I mean, it seems like in the article that they didn't have much contact before the disappearance, and then all of a sudden there's a disappearance, and she's just messaging her a lot. What do you think about that?
Well, I'll probably answer that one the best since I have those text messages. So I had asked Belinda if she had any messages. This is weeks into it. So I said, by chance, do you have the messages from Belia from that day? So it was about 1:46 in the afternoon, if I'm not mistaken, or 1:49, that the first message went out. So basically, Belinda had heard, I think it was her daughter that sent her the post about Jack and Lily, like the house, the story. And so then, of course, she reached out to Malaya. Now, as what Belinda would tell you was that it was about 18 months or something like that. And Malaya had basically, her son, Cody Sullivan, is the paternal father.
Mhm.
And he hasn't seen the children in 3 years.
Right.
Belinda was about 18 months, and she had not seen the children in that time ever since Malaya met Daniel. She pushed away. That was confirmed as well by Cheryl, Malaya's friend, that said the same thing, that basically because of Daniel, that she basically didn't, Malaya said this herself, because of Daniel, he made her basically drop all her friends because they were not good for her. And so she was basically kept in touch with one person. So basically, Belinda reached out to Malaya, and there was this conversation from the second. There wasn't multiple conversations, but there was another one closer to the end of June. And so I have those conversations because Belinda shares like everything that's important. She shares to bring awareness, to bring answers for Jack and Lily. So yeah, so there was this, she was supposed to bring like Lily, because it was about to be Lily's birthday. And she was supposed to bring Lily out, or the kids out, I guess, to see her, but that didn't happen because they disappeared. But anyways, so it was definitely, so that's kind of the gist of it. There wasn't a lot of talk between them, but because of the disappearance, Belinda had gone 3 times to the search, 3rd, 5th, and 18th.
Right. Yeah. No, I read that.
And
What
I
I was
think,
saying was, it was just
sorry.
kind of, it's okay. It's just, it seemed like one of the things that I try to look, like I would look for, is a change in behavior. And like, I would understand the communication there. And based on what you're saying, it sounds like Belinda reached out. So if it was the other way around, then yeah, it would have definitely been weird. And the article kind of made it allude to the fact that it was Malaya that reached out. The article said like, oh, the kids disappeared or something like that.
No.
yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It was written that way. And yeah, it was the other way around.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's why I'm glad I have you guys on here to correct the narrative, because the way the article read it seemed like Malaya is the one that made contact. And I was like, that's kind of weird. That's a red flag. But if it's the other way around, not so much. I mean, it sounds more like somebody getting a helpline almost, and then the floodgates are opening out to this helpline when they've been kind of trapped. It didn't look good for Daniel in any sense. I read the article. I didn't get to see the pictures. They actually show the little boy with black eyes.
You didn't see the pictures?
I did not see the pictures.
I can share my screen if you do want to see any pictures.
Yes, go ahead. I know
me
he
just-
has some reasons behind it. I think he says that, is this the one that he claims was done by his sister?
This picture, no, this was in December.
And
Yeah.
so nobody knows. He hasn't answered. According to the article, he had not answered to what the how the black eyes occurred, correct? On December.
Well, he said what he has said is the picture of the black eye that's going viral. Lily did that, and those are his words. So I'm not sure which picture that was going viral he was talking about, but I assumed it was this one, but
No,
maybe I'm
Daniel
wrong.
didn't know about this one.
He didn't know about this black eye.
No, I wasn't. I mean, I knew that. I read the article and it talked about a black eye, but it didn't.
I can explain it.
Yeah, it was sent to me, the article, like the words, but I didn't get to see the picture. So I just read the article.
Sure. I can explain this one. So it's not that Daniel didn't know about the black eye, because obviously the children live with them. But so basically there was a field trip, like there was a school field trip, and the reporter was looking through, Lindsay was looking through the school pictures and just happened to come upon this picture of Jack. And so, yeah, that's how this picture in particular was found. So it was because of, on the school website, there was pictures, like I said, from a field trip. And then obviously he has a black eye here. So Daniel didn't know about this picture. This is something separate than the Tonka truck one. Yeah, and the one.
No, I didn't say that Daniel didn't know about it. The article made it seem as if Daniel didn't want to answer about this one. He answered about the one that Lily did, and he answered one that Lily had. And when they asked him about the one in December, maybe I read the article wrong, but it sounded like he didn't answer for it, like how it happened.
Probably not. But he also didn't know that this picture was coming out.
You know, it also seems to me that he tries to answer questions that haven't been asked yet. Like, for instance, there's missing clothing, missing clothing that, he thought that maybe perhaps they would be used for. I think at one point he said that he thought maybe they were going to plant some evidence against him. And I think he had sent me a message saying it had something to do with, he thought it was like a keepsake or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about that?
Go on, Shimmy.
Well, why me?
Because I just talked.
I'm just
Okay. Go ahead. Daniel, do me a favor. You talking about the articles, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the article. I'm also talking about some of the statements that he made referencing two missing shirts. He had two missing shirts that he's brought to the attention of everybody, that he's missing some shirts.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of came out of left field for me, because everybody, and Sonny, you can talk about the first two shirts that he said, but then one night in Dolly Vision's live chat, just out of nowhere, he come out with this statement. Watch now, my two sweaters will be found with the kids when the investigation comes to an end. And it was literally out of the blue. And then when I went to Sunny about it, she's like, well, he was already talking about two different shirts, like two shirts. And then when we asked him in a different chat room, he said they're different shirts. So now he's got two missing T-shirts, I believe, and then the two missing sweaters. And then I think somebody else came out and said, no, it's only two. It's not actually four. So it just got so confusing that I threw my hands up in the air about his clothing. You need a map to keep track of all of the statements.
So as for the two T-shirts it turned into, but anyways, as for those two T-shirts, he says he no longer feels that Malaya was. You read that on your thing from him, actually, and so right now it's turned into that Malaya, I guess, wanted to sniff test them in memory of him while he's gone. Now instead of being planted, like a scratch and sniff or something. It's just Yeah.
You know, I was watching his interviews, and one of the things that I caught on to though was that he mentioned they're watching him to a certain extent, something to the effect that if he goes out of service, that they're there, and that he sees helicopters. Did he say something like that? And if that's the case, that's not a good sign. You know, if they're watching you that hard,
They're his
you know,
buddies.
I'm a very much a strong component of watch what law enforcement is doing. They'll kind of give you a clue as to where the investigation is going to, and that was a pretty big red flag too. They talked a little bit about some of the things, some of the relationship issues between Daniel and Malaya, and they kind of described some abusive things. You know, him holding her down, keeping her from having friends and things of that nature. Very controlling. They also mentioned a video that was recorded from a guy that was trying to purchase a horse, or it was a fake thing, and how that ended up being Malaya's parents, and how they mentioned some things about Daniel being abusive, and also that Daniel was on drugs.
Yep.
How do y'all feel about those accusations? Where do y'all stand? I know I don't even know where you guys stand on all this.
No.
You know, we've
we'll
only
tell
done,
you.
we've
we'll
only done
tell
one
you,
show.
Daniel. Charmaine, did you want to go first? Do you want me to? It's up to you.
Yeah, well, yeah, for me, I was a big supporter of Daniel in the beginning. I felt terrible for the man. He was truly the only one going on to the news and talking, and he seemed to be the only one looking for Jack and Lily. But since then, all of the stories that he has put out, and they're not just inconsistencies due to poor memory or whatever, they're legitimately completely different versions, and an outright refusal to clarify anything. But having said that, I'm not going to say I'm on the fence with him, but a little bit of clarity would go a long way for a lot of people, I think. And he keeps talking and not using his voice. He will not use his voice. I don't understand why. Because his text messages and screenshots can be misconstrued and screenshotted and taken out of context, which they are every single time. But for some reason, he won't use his voice to clarify some of this stuff. But he'll come out with more information that contradicts things that he's said in the past. And it's not just little things here and there, like you might think your memory gets clearer or fades or whatever. These are completely different, like who woke who up in the morning, where he went when he first went up. Did he get in the car? Did he run up to the woods? Or who told Janie that the kids were missing first? Was it Malaya when Janie came out and Danny wasn't there? Or was it Daniel when he came around the corner and saw his mom? Stuff like that just doesn't pass the smell test for me. And nothing he says at this point is worth two beans to me. Nothing, because he's created this pattern of behavior that I can't. And to go back, I was really thinking about what you said, Daniel, in our live stream when you were first learning about the case. And you said, you know, you like to watch law enforcement and how they're acting and what they're doing with a suspect or with anybody. And the fact that they've really tapered off contact with Daniel at this point. But that depends on who and when you're listening to Daniel on, like which live stream, because he will say, Janie says we haven't seen them here in a month and a half at the time. We haven't seen law enforcement around here. They don't talk to us anymore. Daniel said in that CBC interview that, you know, maybe once a week and I have to contact them. But then he comes to us and he says, I meet with them 3 times a week. I'm sharing evidence with them and we go over everything. I tell them everything. And, you know, so it depends on kind of like what day of the week and who his audience is how often law enforcement talk to him. And now, so he sees Meadow 3 times a week, and those same 3 days a week he meets with law enforcement. And now this article alluded to him taking anger management and random drug testing 3 times a week as well. So it just seems like he's a dude that's really trying to make himself look as crystal clean as possible. That's unfortunately that's my take on it.
Would that be crystal meth or crystal clean?
Well, math,
Math,
drugs.
math.
But
Can I touch
um,
on, when you have a sec? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Daniel.
if he is seeing his daughter, and he has to take drug tests first, that must mean he's passing them.
Well, of course, I'm
Honestly,
sure that,
if you look at him, I'm sorry, Sonny, but if you look at his first interviews, he is very gaunt. His eyes are very sunken. He's very thin, and he looks a lot healthier now. Like almost
yeah.
a different person. Yeah.
I think that day would have straightened anybody out, especially for Meadow. Now, I'll just go back to touch on this one about the math. Okay. So it was said by Darren Geddes, that was a cousin to Patty, the grandmother, about Daniel. He used to do drugs, that type of thing, or abuse. Which words do you want me to say? But anyways, okay. So, and then what happened is that Haley, Malaya's half sister, comes out and says, "Look, Logan didn't tell you everything. She didn't tell you about the real reason that argument happened." So she's the one that went on to explain about the bathroom, about her family in the bathroom. Daniel was in the washroom, etc., and that it was because of math. And she asked Malaya and said, "Look, I don't know what the F-bomb is going on, but you need to start telling the truth." And that's when she said that Daniel was on math for 2 years. Now, Malaya has said that in a text to me as well. Obviously, Tint, also known as Jim Walker, he's the one that did that video for, what's his name? Wade. Okay. So Wade is the partner to Cindy, which is, of course, Malaya's mother, is Cindy Murray. So she had no knowledge that was being recorded. Neither did he. But there was a point that he overlaid that video. But the video didn't match the audio, because the audio was a separate point of that interaction of him buying this horse trailer,
Right,
where he had this conversation with Wade. And then Wade, of course, says, not only does he makes it, he sells it, use it, Okay, now, it doesn't seem to be confirmed at this point about him selling or making. But as for the using part, absolutely. When you got all these arrows pointing all from within your own partner, and Cindy Murray's and the sister, I think, sorry, but you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool some of the people all of the time. And that's how. So I feel like, yes, he does do math, and that particular day, absolutely. Meadow, they're both going into a custody battle for Meadow. He's going to be clean as anything, right?
yeah, but that's that. I mean, ask a meth head to get clean from one day to the next.
Well,
it's. I mean, I'm sure some people can do it. Some people can do it, but to not relapse, to not do any of those things. Plus, what do you think about his mom? Do you think his mom is involved in? She heard him. She heard him in the morning, right?
In my opinion, yes, absolutely. Okay. Her timeline's just as bad as theirs.
Gotcha. Because she heard him in the morning. Like, to me, if one of them is involved in something nefarious, all three of them are involved in something nefarious. Absolutely. Because they all corroborate each other in some form or fashion. Daniel says he saw the kids, Alea and Daniel's mom. Forgive me, I don't remember her name. They said that they heard the kids. Mm-hmm. So somebody heard and saw them. So if we were to say that was the case, then, within an hour, because that happened around 9, and about 9:45 is when law enforcement was called, somewhere around there. 9 was around the time when Daniel's mom heard him, somewhere around there. I saw an interview where she said she looked at her phone. It was 8:49 when she sent some sort of message, and that was around the time that she heard the kids playing outside. So there's about an hour there. He would have had to have cleaned up quite a bit of stuff. If he's making it, he would have had to have cleaned up quite a bit of stuff.
Right.
It didn't seem like his house was cleaned Now, if he was just using and maybe just,
Yeah.
distributing and stuff like that, then yeah, an hour is definitely enough time to get rid of some things. But making probably doesn't fit well with that type of timeline. Now, if something happened the night before, then you have all night, then yeah, that's a little bit different of a story. But
in your background as law enforcement, and I don't know if it would even be possible to clean up enough if you're actually making something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't think
that leaves residue, and there would be, you would never be able to. Yeah, you would never be able to clean all of that up. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So I don't think he was.
I don't think that he was making it. Yeah.
I don't think
and if
so
he was,
either.
it wasn't being made there. Yeah, he could have another place, another location, but I don't think it'd be there.
Daniel, the whole point though of this timeline was right. It originated. Okay, the children were called in 6:17, 6:18 that morning. Right, it was a PD day on Wednesday. They went and did laundry. Went to Grandma Patty's house. They came back Thursday. They were called in for school. Lily had the black eye from the Tonka truck, right? Now, you don't want CPS, of course, coming back on your butt after that. But then on Friday, they were called in again at 6:17, 6:18. And so the thing is that they blew each other's timelines out of the water because just like on the scanner radio, 8 o'clock is the timeline that the police were using for the distance that the children could have traveled during that time. So it was said by Malaya and Daniel that 8 to 8:30 is when Lily came in the room a few times is what he said. And then that kind of changed, but who cares? Tit for tat on that one, potato. And that's when he heard Jack in the kitchen. So that was between 8 to 8:30. Miraculously, this timeline jumps ahead to 8:48 when that phone call comes in from the brother. Janie goes into the camper, right? Less all her chicken coop stuff and whatever. She goes back into the camper after that. And all of a sudden her timeline becomes a little bit of mishmash, but it definitely happened after 9. The 20-minute time frame now. So basically, Daniel says that he wasn't even in a sleep. Malaya says Daniel was sleeping from 6:18 to 9:40, right? Daniel says, nope, 9:35. Okay, but you guys have already told the police that between 8 and 8:30 is the last time that you heard and that Malaya heard and Daniel seen them. So, and then Daniel says that he wasn't in a deep sleep at all on his polygraph one. So, okay, so the timeline was 20 minutes that, they got up. I tell Daniel, do you hear the kids? I ask Malaya, do you hear the kids? So that timeline then should have been 8:30 to 8:50, but that's not what happened. It morphed into 9:40 to the phone call that was truly at 10:01. And there was no justification around that big jump in a timeline. So Janie's was the last one, right? That she heard the kids. She'll swear on every Bible that she heard those kids. And that would have been after 9 o'clock, right? I mean, the whole thing is absurd if I literally spelled it out for you about what they've said, how much the story has changed significantly in what they said. But the bottom line is they blew their own timelines apart because 8 to 8:30 is when they said that they last heard and seen them. And it was only within 20 minutes that I instantly called 911. I instantly got into a vehicle. So make that make sense. Go ahead.
I mean, it's not accurate, but just to play advocate here,
Yeah,
if they had nothing involved, the fear and the stress in that moment of losing your child and not knowing where they're at, memory and trauma can act kind of weird and it can affect people. For instance, I talked to the Gonsalves family from the Idaho case, and the moment that they heard that something happened to their child, everything blends in for them. Everything is blended in. They can't make sense of some of the things. They had to go back and look at phone logs because they thought this happened at this time. And it's just because they were in such a fog and in such a panic and anxiety through the roof and all those other things that are going on. that things starts to blend in. And so to me, I mean, it does sound like, all right, there's some times there, but it also kind of would make sense if you had some people, because it doesn't sound like they were looking at their phone throughout this period, especially if Daniel was asleep. Like, he's not looking at his phone. Like I would assume there could be some inaccuracy in a few moments there, or a few minutes in time. But if you put yourselves in the shoes of a stressed parent in those moments, it things would start to blend in. Does the picture clear up? Sometimes, I went through a pretty traumatic thing myself, and man, I was wide awake and alert while I almost lost my
I know.
life there, and I don't remember everything that happened in those moments. And so, it 100% accuracy on certain things, especially with times, those expectations can be skewed, especially when we think like, oh, these people should know this, and sometimes it's not completely fair, to withhold somebody to such a high expectation while they're going through probably one of the most scariest moments in their life. And to expect some of these folks to maintain composure and things of that nature is unfair sometimes. And I'm not saying that you guys are doing that, but just kind of saying, like, overall, that could be tough to be a 100% accurate on. You know what I mean?
Right. Honestly, Daniel, for you, like I said, I thank you again for taking on this case. Again, I don't want our what we've learned in this time. I literally want somebody, like I think someone just said in the chat, to be fresh eyes on the case, to see what they think of it all. I know there's 3 months worth of time, and you cannot do that overnight. And again, but for me, I just like the fact of always fresh eyes, fresh eyes. What do you see? Is there something that's going to change my mind? Well, at this point, no, I've seen 3 months of what he's been doing. But am I always open to want to see something differently if it's possible? Like, if there is, absolutely. So I mean, I'm enjoying the fact, regardless, that you don't know anything really about this case besides what you've learned in a few days, and that's it. And we've been following it, for 3 months now.
Right.
And so for me, it's just like, I just like people to use their own brains, like yourself, and see what you see in all this, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. And like I said, I see some red flags 100%. I mean, the kids have some black eyes. They were called in from school. I feel like the most logical reasoning that they didn't go to school that day was probably because of the black eye. That may have led to another CPS case, something that they don't want to have to deal with. Definitely 100%. One question. So the blanket, which way would they have gone if they wanted to go to school? Would it have been the direction that the blanket was found?
Yes.
Do you think maybe that's what they decided to do? They were scared or whatever, they walked to school?
Charmaine, go ahead.
I asked Daniel that specifically because that's what I thought. It sounded like because Lily took her backpack and she was poking her head in and out in the morning, maybe trying to say, can I go to school? When am I going to school? Whatever, whatnot. And maybe they went out to the road where the dogs lost the scent and somebody else picked them up. That's what I thought. And I asked Daniel specifically, and he said no. Lily was always trying to take that backpack out to play. That wasn't her school backpack. And he basically shut it down. And I think you probably know by now, I don't know what your conversation with Daniel has been like, but you can ask a question and he'll completely ignore it and either answer or go on another, kind of rant or, just an information dump to you without answering certain questions or even acknowledging that he read certain questions. So he wouldn't clarify any of that to me other than saying, no, she did not try to go to school that morning. That didn't happen. So,
I mean, he was asleep. How would he know?
Right.
Exactly.
So
I mean, he knows.
that doesn't mean he did something. He may have confirmation bias. And what that means is he's seen a lot of the evidence. He's talked with the investigators. He's had all these conversations. He may have in his mind a set idea of something that occurred. And now he has confirmation bias. There's nothing that's going to change his mind or his opinion. So even when you ask him a question that seems logical and reasonable, he's like, no, I mean, he's already worked out all these things in his mind. So it sounds like confirmation bias to not go down some of these avenues than somebody trying to hide from something. For instance, somebody that committed a crime would have been like, yeah, maybe she did try to go to school. Maybe that's where she was going and they got lost. Anything to take the pressure off of them.
Yeah, I agree completely. As time goes on, I can't figure out in my mind why, if they truly think that the kids have been taken, even if they're being hidden, and it wasn't Malaya, then why is that so far-fetched to think that they were going to school and some random stranger just happened to pick them up that day? Like, why is that so far-fetched for them if they truly think that the kids are alive and just being hidden somewhere?
Yeah.
Just in chat there, Daniel, Belinda Gray, she's in chat. That's the paternal grandmother. She says, yeah, Belinda Gray is. And she says, but we only have Daniel's word about the black eye. Malaya told Lana only Jack had ever had a black eye. Of course, Daniel's the one that said on Wednesday night that Lily got a black eye with the Tonka truck. Now, we haven't confirmed that with Patty because, again, it's Daniel's word. Why would somebody come out and say that, though? But we didn't confirm that with Patty because they were at Patty's house on Wednesday night when this apparently happened, by the way.
Belinda believes and asked me a question. She said that, and one of my last ones, that I thought that the kids were trying to walk to the grandparents' house. Didn't think they had grandparents that lived close to them, or maybe I missed something. I didn't. It was somewhat of a mistake on my part. There is Daniel's father lives close, from what I understand. And it was pretty close to where the blanket was found. Am I correct?
Correct. I can show you my Google Maps.
Yeah. Let's bring that up. And so I got confused. I thought it was the maternal, grandparents that live close. And I thought maybe that's where they were going. I don't know what type of relationship the kids had with Daniel's father. The article seems to make it allude that Daniel's biological kids would visit there and they had toys and things of that nature there. But it didn't say anything about them being welcome there. It didn't say that they weren't, but it just kind of alluded that it was only Daniel's biological kids that were at that residence playing with the toys.
I do know that Daniel's biological kids did have a closer relationship with Earl than Lily and Jack did, though Earl did know them, when he searches all the time and he's worried sick about them, and leave it at that.
Daniel, just look at, so at the top of this screen is Salt Springs Elementary. Okay, that's about a 20-minute bus ride to get to their school, so just so you know. And of course 1407 is where Daniel and Malaya and Jeannie live. Again, the blueprint is on the pipeline. Earl Martell lives here. Pink blanket was found roughly about this area here. Okay.
Yeah. See, even the when I looked at it, it looked like it was closer to that intersection there with where the word Lansdowne is where I had seen that the blanket was. But based on what you're saying, it's a little bit further north. And it aligns with that, what looks like a roadway that kind of goes to the back of their house. Am I correct?
Yeah.
It looks like there's a path there. So if they walked out with that and they took it with them, the most logical, well, maybe not the most logical, but one of the paths they could have taken, there's two of them. One would have been the highway and then turned up north. or northwest, or to go behind the house through the trail and end up out there.
These children never wander off.
Yeah, but children do. They don't until they do one day. You know what I'm saying? I've heard that a lot of times, like, oh, my kid wouldn't walk away or this or that. And that's exactly what ends up happening in certain places.
What do you think about their dog scents didn't go past their own driveway? There was no scent dog that picked up.
It was
anything.
raining, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that doesn't matter to scent dogs.
I don't know. I've never had any. I personally have never worked with any scent dogs to tell you, how they work or how they don't work, and if weather has an effect on things or not.
Yeah.
It could also be the fact that maybe they did turn around and go back up behind the house. But
well, yeah, it's confusing, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, I don't know how. Where do the dogs come from?
Sorry?
Where do the dogs come from? Are they from a local police department where they shipped in from somewhere else? This is a small area, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I can't answer. They're within the area, yes, but I can't answer. Does Kent, do you know, or Belinda, where someone know exactly? Were they the RCMP dogs, Delene? Search and rescue. Okay, they were the search and rescue dogs that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what, like, the because they had dogs even in the Brian Laundrie case, and before it flooded, they still couldn't find that dude. They couldn't find him after the fact. Like, nobody could find him. And the parents go out there and they find him within a couple of minutes in an area that they told law enforcement where to look. And so he's there. These kids are smaller.
Yeah. No, Daniel, just quick. Oh, sorry.
No, just to say they definitely could. They could have wandered off and still be out there.
Right. What it says here, Daniel, just by Googling it quickly. Yes, scent dogs can typically pick up scents even when it's raining. In fact, rain can sometimes enhance a scent trail by causing scent particles to settle on the ground more effectively. However, heavy rain can also wash away scent or drive it deeper into the ground, potentially making it more difficult to follow. Anyways, so that's just the gist.
I wonder,
like, in a case like this, do you think, and I really don't know, but do you think that if they thought the kids wandered off into the woods they were thinking that for up to 5 days, would they have taken those search dogs inside the trailer for any reason?
These are the search dogs or cadaver dogs?
Yeah. They didn't have cadaver dogs, not yet. So search dogs. But I'm just wondering, because there are a lot of people that say that some dogs are like dual trained, dual certified. So,
yeah.
I
wouldn't know any of that, but it would be weird to send them into the house that they were in. I mean, their smell would be everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So that would be difficult. Maybe the cadaver dogs, but I don't know. I don't know. Now, the smell thing too with the dogs in the area, it'd been raining for some time, so the ground was also saturated. So I wonder if that also had an effect. If that had an effect on their ability to maintain a trail.
So how would it be possible to only find one, or whatever you call it, a set of boot prints, and that's it, of one of the children that's in front of the trailer only? Right? It doesn't make sense. How do kids wear?
And did they find they found no boot prints near the swing set, no scent near the swing set where Janie said that she heard the kids playing?
Nope.
That's interesting. I mean, I would. How long does scent stay? Because I would assume that
Weeks.
they would have. Well, yeah. Then why wouldn't they have? I mean, they lived there, so I would have assumed that they would have been able to have picked up the scent all over the place. On that property, in and out. To me, if they couldn't pick up the scent by the swing set, that's probably a that's a weird thing. Maybe there's an issue with those dogs, because if the scent can stay there for weeks,
Yeah.
I mean, unless those kids didn't play on the swings for weeks, why didn't they pick up the scent there?
You know,
So it sounds like maybe there's a dog issue or smell issue there.
or maybe that's because they weren't playing at the swings.
Well, they wouldn't have, but the thing is, they wouldn't have had to play for the swings for weeks.
You know what? Go ahead, keep talking there, Danielle. I'm just
Because what you're saying is that the smell can stay there for weeks, and it's not picking up on the swings. Then that means that those kids hadn't been on the swings for weeks. It should have picked up on it if they were there the day before, 2 days before that, 3 days before that, 4 days before that. And if it's not picking up on a common area that the kids were, which I would assume the swing set be a common area where kids play, then you probably have a dog issue.
Well, let me read what it says here, Daniel, about that, if you don't mind. It says scent dogs can track scents for varying durations depending on several factors, but generally a well-trained dog can follow a scent trail for several hours, and in some cases
that makes more
even
sense.
Days. Optimal conditions can allow tracking for up to 72 hours, and even older scents can be detected in specialized breeds like bloodhounds in special conditions. I'm thinking, you know why? It's because Sebastian Rogers' case entailed about 4 different types of dogs in there, and I just specifically remember that they said that they can follow a scent for up to 2 weeks, but I think that was more bloodhounds. But anyways, so I think that was the gist of it. Several hours to 70.
I was like, if they can sniff for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they can't figure out the kids at the play area, then you probably have a dog issue.
yeah. So so reading about the scent ones, optimal conditions can allow tracking for up to 72 hours. So yes.
Well, optimal conditions. So, I mean, that's the one thing too. And it's unfortunate. I know there's a lot of times where we'll look at cases and we'll expect optimal outcomes within the non so optimal conditions. And this isn't the only case. One of the other cases that I covered was pretty bad like that. The Karen Reed case, they expected a perfect, and I'm not going to get into all of it, but
I know
there was like a blizzard and a whole 9 yards, and I'm just like, wow,
I remember
the expectations are a little bit high.
Yeah.
But
Linda said that they had one doghound, Amelia said that they had one bloodhound.
Okay.
I feel like they had more than that though.
That was just the first day, Sonny.
The first day. Yeah.
Daniel went on to tell me I think they had 10 or 12 scent dogs.
Yeah. As it went on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they end up not finding them. One of the other things that came out in the article was that a neighbor heard a vehicle going in and out the night before. Now that I found to be quite interesting. The neighbor didn't want to disclose who they were out of fear of what the public would do. Don't blame them. I'll be honest with you. Don't blame them. The public can do some crazy things. I mean, we just saw some guy pretend to buy a horse trailer just to get some folks on the YouTube. So I don't blame them. But what do you think about that story? Do you think there's some validity to it?
Absolutely.
Have you guys heard of something like that before?
What we heard was that a neighbor said that they had drove by there at 2 p.m. and saw a bunch of vehicles in their driveway, and one vehicle was on the road, and basically they deemed it as a crack house. Never saw kids there apparently. So that's what kind of came out at the start of this whole case, was about some neighbor. Now, whether this is the exact same neighbor to that one that said that, because we've never heard anything about this at all. And I'm sure Daniel's not going to be telling us or anybody else about this vehicle that's been going out about 6 times allegedly between 12 to 5. I think it says a lot, but I haven't had time. This is my 3rd live today. I haven't gone back in my head to be able to reread everything and go through it in my mind about what that could actually mean, to be honest. Charmaine, what do you think about that one actually?
Again, I've been super busy. When I woke up, I realized you had finished a live stream 2 hours before I woke up, and I was like, Sunny, what is going on? So then I found out this article came out, and I was busy all day. So before we came here, I was trying to re-listen to you reading it while I was, doing my other stuff, and I didn't get that far into it to even know. But as for believability, I do, because we've heard rumblings from this neighbor all along, basically. And let's face it, the kids went somewhere. Something happened to the kids, and the likelihood of them walking into the woods in that 20-minute time frame, and the police were there very quickly searching those woods, and Daniel was out searching those woods very quickly, and Earl was out there, and Janie was out there. These are little children in Hurricane Fiona fallen trees, and professional searchers were having a hard time navigating their own way through there. These kids did not get that far in the woods. I'm sorry, it didn't happen in my mind.
Daniel, do you remember? Do you remember?
Hold on. Can you zoom in on Daniel's house?
Sure. On there. Do you want me to go down to the ground?
Yeah. Well, no. Just closer. I want to see the surrounding houses around his house. Okay. What neighbor is calling in that they're seeing some things? It's just like maybe a handful that can.
Well, he said 500 feet, right? So I don't think it's this one, but it's, so I kind of had figured it was like, this one. I don't know. Like, this is obviously part of the same people, probably. So I'm thinking it's coming from this side more than this side.
And this person was up between 1 and 5 a.m. just hanging out, listening to the cars.
I guess you would probably hear it because it's so quiet, right? So you would hear something very loud.
And not a lot of traffic, right? So if they were coming and going the same direction, that neighbor would probably clue into where.
Can you measure
Daniel's
how far
place?
they are from the? No. The neighbor's house to the road.
Yeah, this is the neighbor's house to the road.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So do you mean from like?
Looks like about the same as Daniel's. Yeah.
How far is that? That looks like a pretty deep in driveway. It doesn't look like right off the roadway.
Measurement, and what do you want it in?
Feet. Feet. That's fine.
I guess to here.
Yeah. Just rough estimate.
165 feet.
Yeah, that's not too far. It looks a lot further from the satellite image.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It looks like it's like a football field away from the yard, which would have been about twice as much as that. So it's about 50 yards from the roadway.
Daniel, this is the one though. Remember where that odd comment came in? The one that it was like when he said like, "Oh yeah, we know that neighbor. They're just trying to basically deflect from themselves." And you're like,
yeah, but what's on the other side of Daniel's place? Isn't that Earl's on the other side? That's the closest neighbor.
No.
One sec. What is that? Because my thought is with this, if that's the neighbor that reported that, it could have been a matter of just knowing the regular traffic on that route, and if whoever it was going back and forth past their place, they might have assumed that they were going to 1407. I don't know.
We have a comment saying, "Is that the neighbor that would not let RCMP search their property?" Was there folks that didn't allow the search of a property?
I asked that, and my answer that I got back was probably.
Yeah, because I mean, we get the information from Daniel, from Janie, but what did we ever figure out about Janie having an issue with RCMP searching her RV straight off?
Right.
Because that happened for sure. That came from Belinda's own eyes. She heard and saw that conversation between Janie and the RCMP. She did not want them searching her trailer, and she said it was because of her dog. which we know her dog is not a large dog, and could have been leashed and taken elsewhere. So it's always been. And now Janie is saying, well, they searched my place 3 times, but she was still very resistant to having them go in right then and there. So, and she was threatened with a warrant if they didn't allow her to do it. So it's very strange.
It
Yeah.
is all strange.
Yeah.
Daniel mentioned that because in his interview that somebody had mentioned that they had seen people at his house, and he said not that night, and that he knew the people that were saying that to get heat off of them.
That's the exact thing that he said. Thank you. Right. What does that mean? What does that
It
even
sounds like
mean?
he's aware of somebody doing something like that in the neighborhood.
Well, exactly. Well, this now because of this article, we now kind of can put it together and go, oh, so he's talking about the vehicle 12 to 5, 6 times going in and out of his thing, and that he's trying to get the neighbors trying to take the heat off of them, and I guess put it on.
But what heat that would have to do with 2 missing kids, with missing kids? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Make it make
Yeah,
sense.
well, maybe if they have video of a vehicle traveling around from somewhere there, he might,
And
Daniel. Okay, so devil's advocate.
Yep.
The neighbor could have had a visitor come by throughout that time frame, knows that law enforcement's going to be looking because they're looking for these kids, and maybe the neighbor is the person that's doing the sales. And just maybe, right? This is all speculation and opinion. Maybe they will report that the person that if they see somebody driving around 4 or 5 times, that they were going to Daniel's house, not his. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like what some people are alluding that Daniel does when he's talking about things that are missing. Like he's saying it beforehand, trying to come up with an answer before you ask.
Yeah.
So what you're saying basically is that they weren't really going to his place, and the neighbor is trying to take the heat off of him by that they were actually going back and forth out of his place,
Out of Daniel's place.
but is right, but not say because he's trying to take the neighbors.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's just say that we're neighbors, and I have people visiting my place, and I'm doing something illegal. And then something just so happens at your house right next to me. Now, I know there's an investigation going on, and now the cops might see some of the stuff that was happening at my place. And so, or see that somebody's driving around and all these other things. And so to take heat off me, I say that car was going to your place.
Why would that person call in at all? Why would the neighbor?
Question. That's a good question.
Yeah. Why would? Doesn't make sense. A neighbor would not call in. They would just ignore everything. They wouldn't call into the tip line to say anything.
Do you think this was called into a tip line?
Well, no, sorry, it was called in. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I thought maybe somebody went knocking on a door and like, oh, I saw this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I assume they canvassed the areas.
It was called in.
You know what I'm saying? I assume that they canvassed the area. And meaning by the canvassing, going to the neighbor's yards, neighbor's house, knocking, talking. Did you hear? Did you see anything? You know, I thought maybe that's where that came from.
No, in the article, it literally says on May 8th, the tip came in. So it came in on May 8th was when it was reported. Yes. Mm-hmm.
How many days was that after the disappearance?
They disappeared Friday, May 2nd.
May 2nd, so about a week later.
Mm-hmm. So you're not going to call in to take the heat off.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm all about accuracy. I'm not about trying to.
Absolutely. It's about, right. It's about facts and trying to put it, look at the facts of the case. Absolutely. And what makes sense, right? That doesn't make sense that someone's going to call in to take the heat off themselves.
That's true.
Yeah.
That would put more heat on them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But do you think that there's more see, because I was thinking maybe if there was some sort of abduction that occurred, and let's just say that let's just play this out. Let's just say that Daniel's doing something with narcotics, and somebody's going in the middle of the night a couple of different times, The next morning they show up. They're maybe high, maybe they're mad, maybe Daniel screwed them over, maybe something. I don't know. They see the kids and they take them. What is Malaya's like avenue in not reporting this?
Good question. I mean,
she's not with him no more. She's left. She's gone. Why wouldn't she go
exactly.
to the law enforcement and say, "Hey, he was slanging. He had people over that night."
Absolutely.
They may have came the next day and picked him up.
Are we looking for opinions? Because if that's the case, then it would be culpability, guilty knowledge, something that's going to point to her own wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
If certain truths come out, then she could fear,
Meadow.
or vice versa, he could fear, their own wrongdoing and punishment. And there is no
right now, right?
Logical explanation for any of it.
No, I agree.
No.
I agree. But they're kind of blaming each other right now, right? Like Daniel's kind of saying that
they're sticking up for each other.
They're sticking up for each other. Because I thought Daniel's been. So what he told me was he kind of blames her. He says that he thinks that she has him, that one of her family members has him. Like, if the blame game is going back and forth.
Oh, he's not blaming Malaya. He's not.
Well, I mean.
He is, but he's not.
It sounded like he was.
Yep. It sounds like
well, it depends on who he's talking to, Daniel.
Yeah.
Every time you say, just like in the messages to Charmaine, he believes. So at first, the messages to Charmaine was about Cindy, the evil mother-in-law that is trying to take, from her daughter out of this Prince Charming's hands, type of thing, right? So he said, "Poor Malaya," basically as if Malaya is being duped and that she had nothing to do with this. I don't know what planet he's on when he's saying this stuff, because they're trying to say that Malaya put the children in a vehicle. But no, hold on. Wait, it's Cindy. No, wait, hold on. Now it's a friend of Malaya's that magically in 20 minutes time managed to, during the caca, Lily, Jack, right? Janie comes out of the trailer 10 minutes. So we're talking about their time frame that they're using as this 20-minute time frame from 9:40 to 10:01 is when miraculously, because of Janie's timeline, that these children disappeared. That Malaya looked so suspicious as she was standing there with Meadow in her arm, that what happened to the children. Again, they can't even tell the truth around that whole scenario. Like it's crazy, Daniel. But anyways, bottom line is during that time frame, they want us to believe, hold on, she's at the end of the driveway, right? Oh no, wait, hold on. Now she's here. Now she's there. How can a car in 20 minutes time frame come up to Janie's trailer as their story goes, and the dog didn't bark? Janie waited 10 minutes after hearing her son calling Jack and Lily, decides to come out of the camper going, I guess it's about time now. It's ridiculous. So they're trying to place that Malaya put the children into, but now it's Malaya's friend. That somehow during this miraculous 20-minute time frame, that's not 20 minutes, that somehow these kids were teleported out of there, and Janie didn't hear a vehicle, the dog didn't bark, and all this happened in 20 minutes time, that Daniel ran up and ran down and this and that he instantly got into his vehicle and started looking. Didn't happen. Doesn't make sense at all.
Well,
right?
I don't think it was 20 minutes. I mean, I think that in the interview with Janie, she mentioned, when she heard them last and correlated that with a text message or a phone conversation that she had, which was at 8:40 something. When was 911 called?
10:01. No.
So, I mean, you have more than an hour. I mean, in reality, and like I said, I mean, there's something called minimalization or minimizing, when somebody tries to minimize their culpability and things. And so instead of them, Malaya and Daniel coming out and probably saying, hey, we dozed off for over an hour and have no idea where they've been the last hour, they minimize it to 20 minutes, which probably hindered the investigation as far as how far that they should have searched for those kids by doing something like that, if they did something to that nature. based on everything that you said, again, it sounds more like either something very nefarious occurred the night before, and they got rid of the bodies, and everybody's involved, and there was little to no evidence that they were able to somehow, without cleaning their apartment or their home or their trailer, get rid of that evidence of the bodies and stuff like that. Which, I mean, there's ways that people can that somebody can lose their life without disposing blood and things of that nature, but usually there's fluids and other things that come out of a body when a person passes. But it didn't sound like their home was cleaned up, so to speak. So whatever evidence that they had, they just didn't find any. And I find it to be kind of odd. And based on what you're saying, if let's just say that they were heard that morning, nobody heard any cars, no dogs were barking, none of those things. It's just kind of aligns more with them walking off than somebody coming and picking them up, at least there. Now, I do think that maybe they went for a walk. Maybe somebody saw them and down the street or something of that nature. That's different, but it's weird.
Daniel, they're the ones that told them at 8 o'clock to 8:30. They said that that's when they last seen or heard. So how do you sometimes, though, like in my personal opinion, like, so how do you morph that? Daniel claims he was up at 9:35, 9:40. So they're the ones that gave the story of 8 o'clock to 8:30. How in that same morning do you somehow miraculously lose an hour of time? I get trying to minimize, exactly like you're saying. I've thought of that as well, that they were trying to minimize. But the thing is that they pretty much nailed themselves into a corner, really, because they're the ones that said 8 to 8:30. And Janie did not say it was after, like, so what Janie said was 8:48, the call came in. Then she miraculously loses track of time. And so she said she went back in to lay down with her dog. And then all of a sudden she says that at some point, she hears Daniel yelling for the kids. Well, again, going based on Daniel's words, he was up at 9:35. Malaya says 9:40. Big deal, right? Tit for tat. So the bottom line is, it's not right after that phone call. She all of a sudden loses memory here and goes, well, I don't remember what time it was. I went to lay back down with my dog, and then my dog barked.
But that's all completely normal. Like, I mean, if I were to go lay down tomorrow and nothing happens between that time, I'm not going to remember everything I did within the time frame. It's a very high expectation. Now, I think it's completely reasonable for somebody on a Sunday morning to go lay down and 20 minutes to 40 minutes pass by and not realize that 20 to 40 minutes have passed by, or know the difference between the 20 and 40 minutes if it's been 20 or 40, especially if they're not looking at their watch or their clock or whatever the case may be.
Daniel, she literally says at 6 o'clock, I did this. At 6:24, I was on Facebook, right? She literally nails down all the timelines. At 7 o'clock, I fed the chicken. At 8:48, my brother calls me. So at 6:24, she tells you, or obviously you can look at your Facebook, right?
Right. I mean, if she's looking at her Facebook, she's on her phone. Her phone has her time up there.
Right.
So, I mean, there's going to be some fluctuation in time. It's not going to be perfect. Even in the Brian Koberger case, we have Dylan, a surviving victim, and a lot of people try to nail her up to the wall because some of the things that she has said or hasn't said, but her timeline is, about 4 o'clock this happened, also about 4 o'clock that happened, and in reality it was 4:04, 4:11, and 4:17, and then 4:20 is when he left. But majority of what she's saying is around 4 a.m. and it's a high expectation to have of somebody to remember specifics on time like that. And then but I get it. She may have gave some specifics herself, but to hold some folks accountable to those specifics like that, it's a high expectation.
Well, the bottom line still remains, right? like regardless. So okay, I mean I get that, because she can use Facebook for a time. She can use her brother's phone call for a time. She can say, I mean,
Right. And
she's
that's
going to be a
also her
creature of
glancing
habit.
at that time
Yeah.
during that time. It's not like she's like, all right, I'm on Facebook at 6:24 right now. This is the moment that I've opened my Facebook and I know this. It's probably like at some point while she was on Facebook, she noticed the time and it was 6:20 or something like that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But how do two children just miraculously disappear in that short of time and nobody can find them? So I get it. You're trying to look at the avenues, and I appreciate this, right? You're trying to look at did the kids walk down the street, get picked up, or something happened that they were trying to whatever. Basically an abduction.
It's possible.
Was possible.
I'm still kind of on the idea that they may have walked off. They may have gotten scared. Maybe they did. It's quite possible what Alea's parents were saying is true, especially after the things that we've discovered in this article about how controlling and manipulative and abusive it appears that Daniel may be, especially towards Malaya. So I think it's very much possible that some kids may have wandered off from a situation like that. And given how wooded the area is, I wouldn't be surprised if they got into the woods, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got a little bit further than people expect, because, if they were inaccurate about the timing, which it sounds like they were, I'm just being honest. It sounds like they're inaccurate about what time they last heard them and stuff like that. I think they're trying to fill in some blanks and gaps. Those kids may have been wandering out there for about an hour before somebody realized that they were gone. And that's a significant amount of time.
Would it impact this opinion at all to know that Jack and Lily did not like being cold or wet, and they didn't have their coats?
And they didn't go into the woods, and Lily didn't like bugs.
No, I get that. I get that. I mean, for one, and I completely understand that. It's just I don't know the kids. You know what I mean? I've never met them. We're going based off of some of the things that they're saying. It sounds like Jack liked to play with rocks and bugs, and at one point Daniel mentioned that what Lily did too, that they were best friends, I think is the term that he used. And some kids are kids. I mean, I can see one being persuaded by the other to, hey, come on, let's go, let's do this, or whatever the case may be. Kids do things that surprise parents all the time.
But don't you feel a little bit, Daniel, just to ask you fairly, don't you feel like you're going against the grain of everything that is being told that they didn't do? So, meaning when I say that, Daniel, I mean the fact that this time frame, it didn't morph into an hour worth of time. Regardless, Janie heard them pass the phone call, right? But meaning Lily didn't like bugs or worms. In fact, Janie will, like, these are out of Janie's and Daniel's words. Their own words will tell you that these children did not wander off. Nobody believes that they wandered off. So when I'm saying going against the grain, I'm saying, so you're telling me that no scent dogs obviously didn't pick up a scent, that Lily, who hated going in there, that Janie had to carry Jack in order to even go through those woods, somehow went off into these woods. So that's what I mean by going against the grain of everything that we know that would.
But we don't know everything that happened while they were out there. I mean, they could have, for one, there was a lot of weather situation that was going on. And if they were gone for a little bit longer than anticipated, the ground was already saturated with water. I've heard of one person who was out there, an investigator that did do an interview, who believes that the kids are still out there and that they may have wandered off just a little bit further, or they may have surpassed them, that there's a possibility that they walked right by them and didn't see them. Now, those things happen. I can bring up several searches where law enforcement had an idea of where somebody was at, walked right by them and didn't find them. Vanessa Guillen is one of them that happened in Fort Hood. Her life was taken by another soldier, and they end up having his phone records. and they ended up pinpointing to an area where he was at. They found the burn site where he disposed of the body, and they could not find the body. They passed by it multiple times. It ended up being workers a few weeks later that found the body, just while they were doing some things on the side of the road. And they had passed by multiple times, and they had the location. You know, the density of the forest is pretty intense. You know, something could have spooked them. Something could have made them. They could have walked along the side of the road until they got spooked into the forest. There's so many avenues that could have gone down. Do I see the red flags with Daniel and the abuse and those type of things? 100%. 100%. I just feel that law enforcement going into that house and the description of that house and it being dirty and it not being clean and it not being any and no sign of a cleanup, so to speak, and yet find zero evidence of something that may have occurred in that house is a little bit telling. You know, I think that you have a footprint that does show up by the pipeline and a blanket. You know, I strongly suspect that Daniel has confirmation bias. He thinks one way. You know, I don't know if he had something to do with it or not. I couldn't tell you one way or not.
We don't know the answer.
But to me, you know, I feel like some of the things that people are looking at that are kind of harping in on are some expectations of accuracy during a moment where let's just say if they were innocent, they had nothing to do with this. Their emotions and their anxiety and stress level are probably out of the roof and all over the place. And I wouldn't expect somebody to be accurate in those moments.
You don't expect somebody to be accurate 3 months later?
3 months later, I mean, you're still asking them to remember of a moment when everything was getting blurred in between. I mean, I can talk to Steve now, 3 years later, and the memories and stuff like that are still blended together. And he didn't have any part to do with his daughter's death.
Absolutely. So agree. We don't know the answers to what happened to Jack and Lily. We don't.
Right.
That's the thing, right? Again, but for us, we've been following it for 3 months. We know what Daniel's been doing. And regardless of anything, even if he had nothing to do with Jack and Lily's disappearance, he's guilty of mistruths, inconsistencies, and lying, and outright lying. That's what he's guilty of at this point. And that's because he has outright lied. So once somebody starts lying, you have to wonder, like, why would you ever associate? Okay, tell me this. I want to ask you about that pink blanket again, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
The pink blanket was in the garbage. Janie remembers exactly when that pink blanket was put in there. Now, it was, you know, kind of like it was in two parts, basically, right? One part ended up down the street in the tree there, and the other part stayed within that garbage bag on this one. Why would anyone deny? Why would you deny that that is Lily's blanket? And then 3 weeks later say it was. Why? How would you not know, considering Daniel put that blanket in the garbage?
Where's the garbage at?
Right in their home, right in front of their home. Because Janie says she came out and she, you know, was telling Daniel about not overstuffing the garbage and da-da-da. So she remembers exactly when that pink blanket went in there, right? So how can Daniel and his mother put this pink blanket in the garbage and then Daniel say that he said none of these items are Lily's or his?
That I have no idea.
Right.
That's a question we would have to ask Daniel. You
Well,
know, but you know, is it if the trash was there on the property and this was a blanket that Lily liked, you know, do you think she would have pulled it out? No, I don't know, Lily. I don't know.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was a blanket that they were using to cover a window or a door in the house, and it was just too ratty, and they threw it out.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't. It was one of Lily's old blankets.
So, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think that something happened and they wrapped up them in it, or
he said someone came into the yard and took out a piece of the blanket?
Yeah, out of the garbage bag. There was a hole ripped in the garbage bag, and somebody just took a piece out and his words, it grew wings and landed in the tree up on the road.
I mean, blankets can fly in the wind. I mean, I'm not that they're not heavy enough not to lift off the ground, especially if it's a piece of a blanket.
Obviously.
And he also said
who
that
would take it out of the is a good question. Who would take it out of the garage? I mean, the garbage is a good question.
But he also just recently said that he is the only reason why that blanket was sent for DNA testing. He is the one that convinced law enforcement that it mattered in the case, that it should be sent for testing. Like, that is lunacy to think that he...
Yeah. Might be a narcissist.
You think?
Oh, no, you think?
I mean, it sounds like it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It sounds like he's the kind of guy that's like, I'm helping everything. I'm the one doing this.
He almost died twice.
You know, I've not heard that, but
his own words, he almost died. I mean, we got the text message from him, Charmaine. He almost died twice as he was running through the creeks, and the whole world won't know about that, will they? Right? No, Malaya said he's a narcissist. I called him a narcissist once I realized his personality traits myself. I'm not no doctor, but I'm just a human being that has been married to a narcissist and with a narcissist, and a couple times actually. But anyway, but Malaya said he was. In her messages, if you look back to the ones I sent you, you'll see that she said that. But anyways, so yeah, it's like his grandiose personality that he almost died twice as he was running, that he ran faster than helicopters or drones and blah, 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 blah. And
no.
he was, what? Was it just helicopters? Oh, she froze. Look at that.
yeah. See, to me, in the end, it's always been if one of them had something to do with this, when one of them being Daniel Malaya and Daniel's mom Janie, they all did, because they've all corroborated each other in some form or fashion. And even though they're blaming each other now,
But what about if?
Oh, sorry. She came back to us, Daniel.
came back.
What about
You
if they're
frozen.
all getting? Sorry.
What? It's
What if everybody is getting their information from Daniel, and they trust Daniel, and they're just regurgitating what Daniel has told them, and that's why there's so many mess ups, because it's hard to remember all of the different things that Daniel says. Like, I don't know.
Maybe. I think that if one of them did something, and this is Malaya, this is Daniel, this is Janie, they all have some sort of culpability in it. And the one thing that I find very difficult is, and now this is just me also playing some sort of advocate here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not in the manner that you think. If Daniel did lose his 2 shirts and stuff, and he's claiming that Malaya has them and it's for some keepsake, yet she blocked him and all this other stuff. What if she turned those into law enforcement? What if, and for them to do their thing? That was what he was wearing that morning, I think, right?
He was wearing it day 1 and day 2, the 2 shirts that he's claiming.
Okay, so he would have been wearing those the day of the disappearance, and so maybe she took them not because of some keepsake, but because she wanted to hand them over to law enforcement so they can check to see if there's anything of evidentiary value. Now, if she did that and he's still free,
no,
it's an interesting thing.
Remember what Wade said. Remember, if you go back to what Wade said, the partner of Cindy Murray, the mother, he says they should all be in jail. You can tell that Malaya isn't saying squat to them. Now, this is just through time, Daniel. This is through knowing about Darren Getty's conversation with Cindy Murray and what Cindy Murray said, right? That, she's fed up with all this. Like, you can tell that Cindy and Wade don't have a clue. No, they have a clue, but they're not being told the truth either. But that's going to be my own speculation of that all in a sense, because obviously, I'm sure Wade said that Daniel sells and makes, and that could not be true at all. And everything that he's probably saying is going to come from Malaya, most of it, right? A lot of it is going to come from being told. But obviously, Malaya moved in with her mother after, when they took Meadow. right now everything's about the custody battle for Meadow. That's what it's about right now. But you can tell by Wade's words and to me, Cindy's, is that no, none of this turning the shirts into the RCMP. I was hopeful that that was the case, and that's why she was being quiet. I'm not hopeful anymore, but I was. You know, it's.
I mean, if she could be talking. I mean, that could be why she's so silent. You know, because the first thing that law enforcement would tell somebody is to stay quiet. Don't like if you were talking to law enforcement and you were communicating and you were giving them shirts or you were doing whatever the case may be, and let's just say because they're following him. If he turns his phone off or whatever the case may be, they're on him. He sees helicopters and drones or whatever it is that he said. You know, to me, if I had somebody who was like giving me information, I would definitely not want them on anybody's YouTube channel, on anybody's media, on any of those things, talking about anything that has to do with the case. 100%. You're not going to. And so maybe that's the reason why she's so silent.
That's the whole point. That was what I thought, Daniel. I was trying to give Malaya the benefit of the doubt, thinking that that's why she was being quiet, because the only way I could justify these actions myself, again, is because perhaps she was working with RCMP to give them information. They told her to clam it up. Well, I mean, obviously she messaged, and the whole reason for that messaging is because Darren Geddes, the cousin to Patty, Cheryl and Malaya, wanted to shut down this, what they would call a bunch of lies about Malaya having the children hidden. Right. So that's kind of what started it all, was that Malaya wanted to confirm that that's just a bunch of BS with that. Then again, there's this conversation recently again. She says she doesn't like she doesn't regret how she's like not spoken, you know, and everything like that. Anyways, so I in no way see from the information we have, I wanted to see that, but I don't in no way see that. That.
But would we see it? I mean, if she's being told to be quiet, not talk, not to do anything.
Why would she come out of the woodwork?
Because I mean, some people do, and it's hard sometimes not to, you know, especially if somebody's got something wrong and the narrative is wrong. You know, if that's the case, it's hard not to, you know.
She was doing a good job.
But you know, it's hard not to open your mouth and not to say something. But you know, and even if she opened up a little bit and something came out that she did, that could force her to clam up again. You know, I mean, that could be something like, hey, I said something that, and it came out. I'm not going to talk anymore. And especially if she's being told not to talk.
No, she wasn't told not to talk. They were not told. No. Belinda just said that, and it's Belinda Gray, by the way. The one that I know you had another different Belinda up, and I was like, oh, is he getting them? But anyways, so no, they came out and said, the police, that they were not told, that they couldn't say anything. What they said was, you know, basically to be careful about what you're putting out there for the information. Not exact, like that was pretty much the gist of what they were saying. They were never
how would they
told,
know what was said and behind
because they said
doors?
it. Pardon, sorry, said it again.
How would somebody know what law enforcement is telling somebody else behind closed doors?
Because they literally said that.
Who's that?
RCMP. They literally
RCMP.
said
On the interview.
Yeah, but RCMP is not going to tell you, oh, we have somebody that's telling us information. You know, they're not going to allude to any of those things either. And so obviously, I mean, law enforcement, I mean, this is a different country, so I'm not sure about out there, but out here in America, the law enforcement can lie, and they can lie to the media, and they can say something so that way people don't go and attack, or because like, I mean, if even here, like if I were to say, oh, we got a witness that's telling us things, and so we told her to be quiet and not say anything, that could put that person in danger.
Don't you think they would tell Daniel to shut up?
No, I would never tell Daniel to shut up.
No,
if he's
of course
a suspect.
not. Well, so is Malaya.
Well, maybe,
okay,
maybe
so
not.
Well,
When is
what do
the
you mean?
last time you heard of a case of missing kids where the family was told not to talk? I mean, that it's still a missing persons investigation. Nobody
That's
has
the thing.
been
It's
named, even a
probably
person of
not.
interest, let alone a suspect.
Right. I mean, and the thing is, I don't think that stuff becomes public. Like, oh, we've changed it. We want to let everybody know we've changed this to an investigation of this, and we have this person as a suspect. Those things are kept close to the vest. Those things are quiet. I mean, they may not have a lot of information. They may not. Law enforcement may only have speculation at this point, and based on the fact that you have some people walking around free, it's probably that. It's probably just a little bit here and there, and yet. So, if there's the possibility that something nefarious occurred, 100% you want Daniel to be singing. You want him to talk at any time that he can.
Absolutely.
You want him to slip up. You want him to say something that he shouldn't.
Yeah.
Alea, probably the same thing too, but it depends. I mean, they have a lot more information than we do, law enforcement, that is. They've talked to her. They probably, they've got the phones. They've got all the things in between there. And do any of them have any smartwatches? Do you know?
No, not that I know of. No, it's never been talked about.
I was wondering if they had anything like that. Maybe you can tell their heart rate and stuff like that throughout the day and the night before. Movements, pacing. I mean, if there's like those type of movements on their phones, I mean, there's ways of telling. Hey, something happened. This phone moved back and forth all of a sudden, and then it moved here, moved there. And if they were lying about certain things, like not being in bed, I mean, obviously they could have left the phone there and not moved it. But if they say, oh, we were asleep, we were in bed, then they have the phone and they have the movements. If it's tracking around the house, it goes out to the driveway, it goes somewhere else. You got some evidence there for something. Now, like I said, there's ways to tell. Now, if law enforcement is being honest and they said that they think this is just a missing persons, it's not an investigation of a criminal investigation, then they must think that the kids wandered up into the woods. What do you think?
They don't. Well, no, that's not true. Okay. There is a plausibility, and that's why they haven't deemed it as so there is no suspects per se, right? They haven't said that. I mean, obviously in our eyes, there's 3 people on a property. Simple as that. 2 kids went missing. But it's deemed as a missing person still because there is a potential that they got overlooked in the woods, right? So there is a potential still. Obviously, we know they don't believe in an abduction. They've come right out and basically have said that. And they also said, it was during the press conference, obviously, if you listen to that, they said that it was about a week into it when they said basically that the kids would not be alive, obviously, if they're in the woods at this point. That's if they were in the woods on this. Now, again, their main focus, who knows? Daniel said he left his phone on a table. And he didn't take it with him when he was doing at the end table when he does stuff. Again, you're talking about an area too that has, for that area, whatever digital data, whatever Cellbrite information and all that stuff. But Daniel, I want to ask you something, because we always know, because Daniel had made a comment earlier about that he loves watching investigations and different stuff like that near the start. But anyways, my point would be is that, you know how this is the old adage that usually when somebody, and I'm just saying this in general, right? That usually when somebody, usually does something, they like to be they like to insert themselves in a case. Okay. Now, whether Daniel's doing that or not, but we hear that all the time, right? People light a fire. The next thing you know, they're standing out in the crowd going, oh my God, I wonder whoever did this, because they want to know what you know. Remember Delphi? They want to know what you know, and they purposely insert themselves. Now, and again, Daniel definitely is inserting himself.
I agree.
In a ton of ways. Again, does this mean that Daniel or Malaya or anybody's guilty? No, we can't say that at all. We can't, because we're not the people that, if they were considered suspects and they were being looked at, but that's not what's being said at this moment. They're still deeming it as a missing persons. I remember that one police officer that was talking about the case. He said it's either two things. He said it's two things. Either this is a criminal investigation or they're somewhere in the woods and haven't been found. Those are the two answers for this.
You know what? Let me. I want to bring up something when it comes to the search, because I think I'm seeing a lot of people saying some things, and I want to show something that might give a little bit of perspective. Let me pull up my Google Earth. So on Wednesday of next week, I have Barbara Hall that's going to be coming on the channel. She is the mother of Timothy Dees. Timothy Dees disappeared a few years back. He called 911 and said that his friend was chasing him. And 911 gets out there. They arrest somebody and that was unrelated, and because he had a warrant, and they figured they got the problem out of the way, and so they left. Timothy Dees was never seen again. His body was found 3 months later. They had done searches. They had cadaver dogs. I want to show you the area in which they were at.
Sure.
And so I can show you guys what it looks like and how far he was when he was found 3 months later, how unwooded it was in that area. They had dogs out in that area. They had cadaver dogs in that area, and they didn't find him. He was actually about 185 feet from where the dogs were at. And also, I think 180 yards or another 180 feet or 80 or 70 feet from where he called 911. So I'm going to pull that up here in a sec. Let me remove this real quick.
I mean, I just want to say to Jay that I just seen his comment, Jay, they're still deeming it obviously as a missing cases, even though that they've directly asked Daniel, did you kill the kids? And everything, major crimes unit is in there right away. But again, they haven't transitioned over to the fact that it's a crime.
Right. And I think that's interesting. If they haven't transitioned over to a crime, that must mean they don't have much evidence, if any at all, that a crime was committed, as far as
could be
like a murder. So it to me, when those things happen, it just kind of seems like, to me, it seems like they wandered off, and that's what law enforcement thinks. Now, there could be reasons behind why they wandered off. You know, kids could have gotten scared. You know, if they had some black eyes and this guy was as controlling as they say he is, there might be some culpability there, you know, because he was, you know, his behavior. But if, gosh, I need to find this guy's address real quick.
Sure, no problem.
Of where everything went down. Let me see. But yeah, so to me, it just kind of like following what law enforcement is doing, following what they're not doing. If they're being honest, that's the other thing too. I mean, law enforcement don't have to be completely on. At least here, I don't know about in Canada. I don't know the rules there.
They can entrap over here. They can literally. It's called, what is it called, Jermaine? The Big Brother.
They call it what?
Big Brother. They can literally set you up.
Big Brother stings.
Sting operations. Yeah.
They can do whatever they need to do to get
the truth.
to get their man, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one that I'm going to be covering, it's interesting because the guy, his body was found on a judge's property, and we found some evidence that lead us to believe we found a threat on his phone right before the Egos disappeared, and the person that threatened him was a good friend of his who was contacting him over and over and over again on Facebook until the point that he disappeared. Now, he was missing for 3 months. And he never contacted, he never tried to message him throughout that entire time. Like, where are you at? What are you doing? Why? Because he knew he wasn't.
What did we say?
His name is Timothy Dees.
Timothy Dees.
Yeah, and this happened in Missouri. I want to pull up where it was that his skeleton remains were found. So give me a second. Madison County, Missouri. I kind of know where it's at. It's a small area. I kind of know where it's at. So,
yeah. I heard you guys. It's called Mr. Big, not Big Brother. Mr. Big.
I've never gotten that wrong before. Thank you, Sunny.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, my bad.
I've
My
never in my
bad.
life got that wrong.
I was thinking of Mr. Big, the chocolate bar, but I was like Big Brother. My bad. It's called Mr. Big.
Called Mr. Big Operations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and find it and save it and do it. I don't want to take too much of our time trying me to show. But in this area, he was literally, and I'm gonna use yards because I'm pretty sure it was feet, but it may have been yards. You know what?
Sure.
Now that I think about it, it was yards. So he disappeared, and where they called 911, they end up doing a search around that area. They did bring in some cadaver dogs, and they took a hit about 70 yards away on these storage units. And the crazy thing about it is one of them belonged to a police officer, which is weird. They end up searching it and they couldn't find anything. They end up interviewing somebody else. And from that interview, they search 184 yards to the west and they find this body in a tree line. And it'd been 3 months, nowhere near any type of like woodedness to this degree, none whatsoever. I mean, it looked like a neighborhood. And so there was searches, there was dogs, there was a bunch of things, and they couldn't find him, and they found him later after talking. And so basically what I'm trying to say is, given how dense some of this wooded area is, I wouldn't be surprised if they passed them up, or there's a good possibility that the timeline of when they last were really heard and the time that 911 was called may be longer than people expect, or maybe even longer than what they thought. And, you know, an hour, a couple of kids can walk a couple miles in an hour, you know. But what else do we have? So,
How old was that child?
Timothy Dees, he wasn't a child. He was a young man. He was in his 20s. He had he basically, what happened was he was in the drug game, and I think that has something to do with why law enforcement doesn't want to really investigate it. Something happened with him and his buddy. He took out a large amount of money in the middle of the night, and then a couple hours later, he's calling 911, which for somebody to be involved in illegal activity to call 911 must mean something serious is happening. And he said that his buddy, or his friend was chasing him and was threatening him or something of that nature. His friend was reaching out to him through Facebook, and at 8 o'clock that morning before he disappeared, because this all happened between like 1 and like 9:30 in the morning. And there's a message from the friend to Timothy saying, "I'm gonna whoop your effing ass." And then there's some messages between that guy and somebody else where they're trying to find Timothy, and then he's never found again. And in fact, his body was found like 180 yards away from Caleb's house, his friend. So that's the case that we're going to be talking about on Wednesday. I'm actually going to have Timothy D's mom on the channel. And so, but that one's again, like that one, in my opinion, law enforcement don't want to look at it. To me, it's a small area. That case screams that somebody was doing something illegal in law enforcement there and just doesn't want their involvement to come up, you know, because they don't want to investigate. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to they don't want to interview the guy.
I was muted.
So much they don't want to do. And this case screams to me that somebody is doing something that they don't want found. Now, I don't think that means that they were involved in Timothy's murder, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were involved in some sort of drug activity, some of those type of things, and doesn't want that to be disclosed. And so they are kind of kicking it under the rug.
Daniel, yeah. Okay, so now it's all coming back to me because I haven't seen Barbara Hall in a while. It's what it seems like. So Barbara Hall is Timothy's mother. She's been in our chat multiple times. And sorry, Barbara, I wasn't recognizing the name when Ben said that. She's in chat there. And yes, my son was right there. And now that you're saying about Timothy, Right, absolutely. It's been quite a few months since I remember, she was coming in the chats and,
Mhm.
basically, it gives her a little bit of solace, of course, trying to help out and do what she can with other cases and stuff like that. So now it's all sinking in. I'm so sorry, Barbara, that I wasn't clicking in
Yeah,
to that.
and Jess brings up, does anybody remember the Gilgo Beach murders? That
Yes.
was kind of something similar, right? So you had a chief of police who was involved in something with prostitutes that he didn't want his personal information getting out, so he kind of stonewalled the investigations, which led to
Yeah,
Rex Humerman to continue to take lives.
Yes.
So
that's
that's
exactly
kind
what I
of,
was going to say as you were telling the last story. Yeah.
yeah, that's what it screams to me. It screams this so bad because the evidence is so clear. And I've worked with Steve from True Crime Web, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, there's something dirty here. There's something dirty.
Right.
And for me, like, guys, I'm not the type to jump on that train right away or anything like that. But the fact that there's evidence here that's been uncovered and presented, and they don't even want to take a look at it. They don't, law enforcement in the area doesn't even want to question Caleb, the friend. It's insane. Me and Steve are stumped. On this one.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm glad to hear that you guys are looking into this one. Absolutely. I'm sure it means an awful lot to Barbara. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Our hope is that we bring awareness to the case to the point where there's movement, that they start at least investigating it.
Right.
Pressure the law enforcement agency into investigating his death, because it just, they interviewed a guy who said, like, when they found his body, they said, I bet you're going to find him disrobed. And he was.
Yeah.
So take that for what it is. There's a lot of red flags in that one too. So we'll be talking about that one. But back to this one. I don't want to get too far away.
No, it's just, there's so many cases out there. And again, I'm so sorry again, Barbara, that I didn't click in when Daniel was telling me about Timothy, and, knowing full well that she has been in the chat multiple times and, was talking about her, son. And, yeah, but there's nothing worse than the unknown answers of something, right? There's nothing worse than that feeling, for sure.
Yeah.
They don't even answer the phone. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome, Barbara. Good to see you. Yeah. So that'll be Wednesdays, guys. So a little promo for what we're going to be doing Wednesday. I'd appreciate everybody tuned in and showed some support and applied some pressure, so that way we can get some movement going on that case, because regardless of what happened, or if he was involved in narcotics, the man had his life taken, and he deserves justice.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so,
yep. All victims deserve justice.
So back to the disappearance of Jack and Lily. Where do you guys think this investigation is going to go now? Do you think they're ever going to turn it over into a criminal investigation?
Charmaine, you go first.
For me, it's a lot like Doug Carter and Delphi. We just need that one piece, just that one piece of information that's going to direct where we go next.
Yeah.
And I think they're still, I think they're watching. They're watching everything. So waiting for that slip up.
It's pretty much what I see too. I don't feel like there's the evidence right now to make a case. Not that they don't have a lot of stuff. I just think that it's some, like, Daniel, cases can have certain evidence, and sometimes cases never get brought in, before anyone, because there's just not enough sometimes. Even if or even if you feel like who might have done something, there's cases out there that never make it to trial because there's just not enough. I feel like I just am not feeling it. I'm not feeling where they are right now. I just feel like I'm still lost on the whole cadaver dog thing, why there hasn't been any that we know of. I've never heard of anyone talk about it, besides them saying that they might. Anyways, when it comes to this case right here, I figure that they still need stuff. If they're going to bring charges, that they need, that they're watching, that they're being Daniel's best friend. Sorry, Daniel, but that's my opinion. And that they're more than willing to listen to him talk. I still feel like it has family involvement to this. The children disappeared on Daniel and Malaya's dime, and all this weird stuff that's going on with the case. I'm sorry, you can't. Some people can sell ice to the Eskimos. I don't buy that stuff. I've seen too much inconsistencies and stuff like that, you know. But anyways, so I don't feel like they're there yet with this case. I feel like they need certain information. This case could go cold. It could. I'm praying that it doesn't, but it very well could, if they don't have, you know, if they're missing some important information, because like you said, right, Celebrate, digital stuff like that, it all has to match up. It all has to, you know, to show that somebody did something or people did something. So I'm not into the whole abduction thing. I've looked at it many times. It's so low on my spectrum. The woods is higher, even though I think that we know that people get overlooked, right? In woods and stuff, but I just can't see two children that didn't venture off into the woods, going into the woods and getting lost in a short period of time, and then to have all that drones. So I think if it does happen, there's going to be charges against a couple, or at least a few people at some point.
Yeah, for me, I'm stumped on it, guys. You know, I think that, like, you're just kind of looking at everything. I think that if there is an arrest made, it's probably going to be somebody we don't know. I think that when it comes to the Daniel and Malaya and Janie, that law enforcement have had a lot of information about them. You know, phones. You know, they gave up everything, documents. I mean, not their documents, their financial records, the whole nine yards. And to me, it just kind of seems that, you know, when it's kind of close to and I said this in the Brian Koberger case. So in the Brian Koberger case, when this murder happened and people were pointing at Jack DeCore and Adam and all these other guys, I said, you know, the longer we go away from somebody getting arrested, the less likely it's somebody close in the circle. Meaning they have their information. There's certain things that need to be done in order for somebody to commit a crime. Somebody would have had to have left their house at a weird hour, had to have traveled across town, had to have arrived there. And there's just so many things that can go into play that if they have, like, for instance, let's just say they have footage from one end of Daniel's house and the other end of Daniel's house, that if he would have fled throughout the middle of the night to go dump the bodies somewhere, perhaps maybe they have some sort of footage or a camera that he would have had to have driven in front of. Now, I don't know if they do or don't, but I'm sure that they probably looked for those type of things to see if there was any type of movement throughout the middle of the night, you know, to see if, because I think they were seen on camera. So you have the day before, so you have a time frame. You have the time that they're seen on camera the day before, and the time that they reported a missing. That's your scope, right? That's where you're looking for certain things. So to me, because of those things, and because, like, I would tell people, like, well, Jack DeCore went, he turned in his phone, he submitted DNA, he did all the things that would have been required for the investigation. They have enough evidence that if he would have committed a crime, they probably would have found something, you know, and I feel that to be somewhat similar in this case. Now, if Daniel also passed a lie detector test,
he says,
that's,
has it stopped him from lying about other things, though? I mean, again, if they are watching him, then you know what I mean. So
that's a good. I mean, if they're watching him, that's a
you know. But
They have some sort of at least
let's just
thought process that he could have had some culpability.
he blatantly lied though, Daniel, about the pink blanket. He literally lied about the pink blanket. How do you put a blanket into the garbage yourself with your mother there, and then you don't know that that's Lily's blanket? We're talking about a big piece. We're not talking about a little piece of fabric that just flew off into the wind. We're talking about a big hanging piece of blanket, right? That would not, if there was wet and moisture, there's no pink blanket in the world that's going to go flying a mile down the road. But
Right,
he
but
denied
how does it
it.
how does it portray to the case? So they found out that it was hers.
It is
So
hers.
how does that implicate him as far
Because he
as
lied.
right. But what was his benefit for lying about it? What did he benefit from it that now that it's been discovered that it was Lily's is what he was trying to elude or avoid? For instance, Ron Logan lied about his location. Why? Because in the
Misdirection.
Delphi case, because he was drinking and driving and doing a bunch of other things, and that's the reason why he did those things. There was an advantage there. There was a purpose. There was a meaning behind it. What is his advantage that has been uncovered that he was trying to maintain by lying about the blanket?
Well, at first it was to protect Malaya. And then secondly, it became evidence that, so Daniel says that that blanket, again, this is Daniel's mom, that blanket wasn't there in the morning. Woo woo.
Okay.
That suddenly it morphed there later on that first day of the search in the afternoon. And that Malaya, her family planted it there to blame him. Right.
Right.
He's the one that says that stuff.
Which direction does the wind travel from? That might give us a pretty big clue if they were gone for a little bit longer and it ended up in a tree. It's probably in the I would start searching way further the opposite direction.
How can you even think that a piece of blanket that's pretty darn big, we're not talking about a freaking a tea towel, right? We're talking bigger than a tea towel, and it's heavier, right? I've shown you the picture though of the blanket. I remember
I
sending
don't
it.
think I've seen it.
Yeah, I've sent it to you though. It was within that stuff. So maybe go take a look at that later, because I did send it to you. Or I can even do I have it? I can show it to you now if you want.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so hold on.
Was the blanket wet?
Well, it would have been. It would have been somewhat moist because it was raining, right? It wasn't heavily raining, but it was raining. But anyway, so let me just quickly grab
let me see the blanket. I want to see if there's full of mud. I want to see what's on it.
1 second.
But
here.
I'm still also like kind of okay. So he said all these things. What was he trying?
Why would he lie?
Well, not so much why would he lie, but what's the benefit of it?
Because he's trying to make it seem like it's not, don't look this way, look that way at Malaya, then her family setting me up.
Right. I mean, the only thing I can think of is the blanket's close to his dad's house. Maybe he doesn't want people to look that direction.
Well, that's what I would say. Doesn't it remind you? Did you ever follow Suzanne Morphew's case?
I did not. Did his dad allow people to search his house? The article kind of seemed like it did.
Yeah.
See, it's kind of weird. Because you have a possibility there, right? You have a possibility. You have a blanket near his dad's house or his uncle's house. I think his uncle lived down the street.
1 second.
All right. Maybe. Okay.
No, sorry. Just give me a sec on this.
Oh, okay.
One,
yeah. So maybe perhaps the reason behind the lie would be to avoid law enforcement to look into that direction. If he was saying, oh, that's not hers, don't look there. But they did. And they went into the properties, according to the article. Again, they may have missed something. I mean, I've been saying it that you can pass by something and not see it. It's even throughout the search, especially if you're looking at a dense areas you guys have mentioned.
Okay. I'm going to show it now.
Let me see the blanket. I've not seen it.
So it is in your, I sent it to you, but you just obviously don't remember seeing it, but it is in your stuff that I sent you, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will show it to you from your own, right here. Is that the right picture coming up?
I don't see
I'm
anything
using,
coming
hold
up
on,
yet.
no. Sorry, Facebook right here.
Okay, you're gonna send it to me again on Facebook? Give me a second.
Nope, it's right there. You can share the screen. It's not,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
showing it from your Facebook.
Is that a guy standing next to it?
Yeah, there's two searchers.
That does not look like a big blanket.
Pardon?
That looks like something small enough to get carried into the wind.
I disagree.
I mean, it looks smaller than the guy's shirt
Well,
next to him.
right. It's not as big as the guy. I don't know. It's deception sometimes. All I know is that that's the blanket. That was a mile down the road in a tree. Not high in the tree.
He
towards
said
the
this was
road.
a piece of the blanket.
Right. There was two pieces. One that was still in the garbage, and then this one. So why would you say that it's not Lily's though? Like, that's the point.
Well, I mean, if he thought he threw it away.
The mother said they showed them. So what they did was they took pictures and showed them it, right? And then Malaya said that she believed it was Lily's. And then he said, and then now Darren spoke for him, and he said, the reason why Daniel lied, he said, was because he felt like he was getting, like, her family is trying to, plant evidence, like the shirts, as well as, this blanket, right? So what he was trying to say, Daniel, was that it wasn't there in the morning, according to him, because his family, his uncles and everybody would have seen it. And then it just miraculously showed up, he's saying, later on that day. And Malaya's family, Cheryl is a friend of Malaya's. Her family is the one, I think Logan was there as well, that found the blanket. So it's kind of like, Logan, so basically Malaya's family is the one that found the footprint and found the blanket, right? They're the ones that showed the search and rescue where these two things were as they were on the search. So Daniel is saying, look, that blanket's not. Now, first we heard, I think Darren say for him that he thought he was trying to protect Malaya, but whatever on that one. Let's just get rid of that one. And let's just stick to the fact that it was both Malaya's family and friends that found the blueprint and this blanket. And he was feeling like that they were trying to target him to blame him for the disappearance of Jack and Lily.
That's interesting. Now, Charmaine, you say that you think that this is a misdirection or a red herring. By who?
I'm the one that said that, but go ahead,
okay.
Charmaine.
I don't like to name names and point fingers, but I think somebody who is constantly, consistently trying to like, look over here while I do this over there. I think that the blanket was put there by the same person who pushed for its importance.
Pushed for what? Charmaine, you cut out there.
I mean, there's one person claiming that the blanket was planted.
Right, but I mean,
I cannot for the life of me figure out what they would be for.
Oh, she's cutting out.
but if we were to play that out,
My
and I think I
internet
know
is trash.
I think I know where you're going with that. So let's try to play that out. So if Daniel put it out there in efforts to say that they planted it, so Daniel put it out there so that he could say that Malaya planted it out there to make it look bad on him. Is that what you're saying? I think.
I'm not. I'm sorry. I totally.
I think
was
it's
on.
going to have zero evidentiary value. Zero.
Okay, but I
Zero
think that
evidentiary value.
Daniel,
I think it's a big waste of time.
But if Daniel wanted to waste time and make it a red herring, Why dispute it? Why not put the blanket somewhere in the opposite direction of where you would have gone to dispose the bodies or done something, and then point at that being that's the direction that the kids went. There's a shoe print over there. There's this. They walked off. They must have gone in the wood. That gives some sort of culpability. I mean, that's more believable than some of the things that he's saying. And to me, if the person was trying to take the heat off of themselves, wouldn't they point at the blanket and say that this was evidence of them walking off and nothing, no wrongdoing here and nothing bad to see here? You get what I'm saying?
Well,
I don't understand his argument behind it. If he's
I
trying
do, but
to,
I think that if he puts the blanket over here towards where the boot print was, but in reality, everybody should be looking further out the other direction. That's what I mean by misdirection. That's what I mean by red herring. Like, let's go over there because that's where the blanket and the boot print are. That must be the direction they went. And that's what happened.
Right.
That's where they searched.
right, but
He
he's
should have been
not
going the other way.
he's not pointing them that way though. He's not telling them that. He's trying to say that, oh, don't look that way. That's planted. He's kind of doing the opposite, ain't he?
Well, this is the thing. This is the clear thing about Daniel Martell, is that you don't know what to believe because it changes all the time what the story is. So honestly, it's like brain fuckery is exactly what it is that's going on here. Okay? Because, right, exactly. So, but who says all this stuff? Who says, I let the RCMP know that just in case they find 2 shirts and they're with the body, like they're with the kids, that, I let them know
That's
ahead
a red
of
flag.
time.
That is a red flag.
That's an absolute red flag. I mean, all day long we can sit here and talk about his red flags. Daniel, there's way too many to even go over in this live, even within probably 3 hours worth of time. Now, in saying that, right, whatever game to me he's playing, whatever, keep playing your games, Daniel, because the more you talk, the more we can sit there and go, oh, well, you said this, but now you're saying this. Oh, well, you said this, but now you're saying this. This happens the whole case, okay? This has been happening the whole time, and he just keeps adding more to it and more to it. Now, on top of that, like I said, so we got this and this going on, but hold on. No. Malaya. You guys need to look at Malaya. You guys need to look at her family and friends. They're the ones that have planted this evidence so that it makes me look like I'm guilty when really, she's misdirecting. Their family is misdirecting, right? And so that's why this is all pointing towards Malaya. That's why he has said that Malaya's family is the one that found these items in the search, that they planted this evidence for them to basically go into that Malaya is doing this. Her family has hidden them, taken them, and you know what? Maybe we'll see them, maybe we won't.
Right. And I don't disagree with you, but the problem with it is when you have 2 people like that, if they were involved in something and you have 2 people that are blaming each other, it usually results in an arrest fairly quickly. Like you usually can come up with something like you have, oh, it's them, it's blame. All right, well, what else do you know? What else do you have? Then you go and talk to the other person, and you tell the other person, hey, he's blaming you. You're the one that's going to go down for this. He's saying that you did this, and that. And then you pawn themselves against each other. You pawn themselves. Now, she's not talking to the media. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's not talking to law enforcement. I mean, unless law enforcement has come out and said that Malaya is being uncooperative and hasn't talked to them, I think that I don't know if we can, make that determination that she's not talking with them. But
let's be clear, though. She is not blaming him. She is not blaming him.
Right. But if he's blaming her.
Yeah, he's blaming her.
It's not hard to go and flip somebody who's getting blamed, especially when they're getting blamed. That is like law enforcement tactic 101. You go up, you separate the 2 parties and you say, hey, the other person is saying that you did this. In this scenario, we have him actually coming out publicly blaming her. And so
Yeah.
it's not very difficult to
No.
then speak to somebody else and say, hey, you're the one getting blamed. This is going to fall on you. You're the one going to jail. You're the one that's left. You're the one that's not here. You're the one that's
No.
hiding. It is not difficult to go into those type of scenarios and flip somebody to get some information. And if one of them did something, they all did something because they're all cooperating with each other.
Daniel is very clear that he's not blaming Malaya, although he is, but he's not, right? So Daniel is not blaming Malaya. If you ask Daniel right now,
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if I was investigating this crime and Daniel told me the stuff he told me, the first thing I'm going to go tell Malaya is he's blaming you. You're the one going down for it. Even if he's saying, I'm not blaming, I'm this. I mean, no, that's not how that's not going to go down that way.
But the point is with that, Daniel, is that Malaya's saying, right? Her question is, do you think you could do anything to hurt, Daniel could do anything to hurt children?
Okay. And I think there's a possibility of that.
And so Julia, hold on. Oh, is that coming from mine?
I don't know what's going on. I hear some talking.
I'm going to say to that one, Julie, wait till Monday on that. Wait till Monday. Okay. Wait till Monday on that stuff. I'll say for that.
Right. And I completely agree that there's some instances of red flags. There's the black eyes. There's all this. 100% agree with that there's those avenues exist. I just also believe that law enforcement typically aren't stupid. And I believe that with certain information and certain things that they can kind of point together what's going on. And when you have people that have turned on each other, whether it's just one person or you have both people that have turned on each other, it makes it fairly easy to investigate that and to come up with what occurred and evidence and proof.
They haven't turned on each other. That's the point. They haven't turned on each other. She won't.
And I think that RCMP, they want to find Jack and Lily. So, yeah, they have enough to bring.
Nah, that stuff happens day one. I mean, look at what happened with the Ramsey.
But it didn't here.
They were suspects as well. That one's a little bit different, but because they found the body. But the parents and the family will go through the ringer right off the bat.
But they didn't though. They didn't even close this off. They believed hook, line, and sinker those kids wandered off into the woods. For at least 3 days of that first 5.5 day search, the cops believed it. They didn't cordon off that crime scene or where they went missing from. They just didn't.
Nope,
they looked for a scent to go which direction to search in. I don't want to say they botched this from day one, but it wasn't handled like most would have been, where, okay, we've got missing kids. Let's everybody out. Let's contain this site. That didn't happen here. So it could have been contaminated. Absolutely, Jess.
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely.
Lots of people in and out. Lots of people in and out. And lots of people's pets in and out.
Just like Sebastian Rogers' case. Absolutely.
Not good.
Same thing. Yeah.
Not good.
They didn't. No. That's what gets me on this one, Daniel, is that like Sebastian Rogers' case, they didn't cordon off anything, kind of like Nicola Bully's, right? They waited a full week for Nicola Bully before they even cordoned off the area from everyone and TikTokers and YouTubes. Why is this happening, honestly?
Yeah, but even in Nicola Bully, the law enforcement came up, said there was no sign of foul play right away. It ended up being the case.
But they didn't know.
I mean, well, you can kind of tell from one way or another based on certain things, evidence and the lack thereof evidence. And so the lack of evidence is evidence. So law enforcement, I mean, that's a good explanation right there. Law enforcement had some information. They had some things, and they believe that there was no foul play very early on, despite what most people were saying in that case, and ended up being, I believe, the end result of that case. Yeah, I mean, 100%. There's a bunch of red flags, and I think that there's a good possibility. Like if I had to put my money on one scenario here on what happened, I'm going to say the kids got scared and they walked off. I wouldn't be surprised if they got scared of Daniel, or they got scared of a situation, or they got tired of being hit if they were hit. The black eye stuff. One time, okay, 2-3 times. That's a bit of a habit. And I 100% agree that there's a possibility that this person, Daniel, or his spouse, may have done something, or his girlfriend may have done something at that time, and disposed the bodies and stuff like that. But I just feel that, because, and I know you guys say they haven't turned on each other.
They haven't.
What? I got sources in certain things that may say different.
Like, I'm going to totally, absolutely disagree with you, that, on that, but I totally respect your opinion. I'm looking to see what you come up with. If you change your mind, you're so new to this case, it's going to take time to absorb.
I am new to the case, but I've also had a lot of people reach out to me about this case. And I've had some people that have reached out to me that haven't reached out to anybody else. At least that's what they're telling me. People that are close to this. And and they try to, I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to give away any information about who anybody contacts me.
No.
But to me, I think that's probably the most logical and the most based on the evidence, and based on the evidence from law enforcement. Like, it doesn't seem like Daniel is this criminal mastermind. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to insult his intelligence or any of those type of things, but he would have had to have outsmarted his phone, Cellbrite. He would have had to have outsmarted law enforcement, a lot of people. And
we'll see.
I don't know. Like I said, they are watching him. So it does seem, I mean, this is based on what he has said. So it does seem to me that there's at least some sort of suspicion against him. They haven't ruled it out. I just find it weird that after 3 months, they haven't found the evidence they require to at least turn this into some sort of criminal investigation. I mean, it's weird.
You know what? We'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, we all know that sometimes what looks like it could be something can totally be different from what it is. Again, I'm going fierce and strong for Jack and Lily. That's what matters the most. Whatever happens with the actual answer, whether it happens right, in a week from now, a year from now, end of the day, it's always about the victims of the cases. And whoever gets arrested or not arrested will be yet to be determined. We'll leave it. We'll say that.
So
right?
They're going also through a custody battle too, right?
They are. And so that's in September. I believe it's around I want to say September 18th or 16th or something like that. But yes, so everything is about Meadow right now. Absolutely.
So that'd be another reason to turn on each other.
Well, they might turn on each other after that custody battle. I'll tell you that much. We'll see how that works out. Because right. I mean, both of them want Meadow. Now again, honestly, I don't think any of them are getting Meadow, to be honest with you. That's my personal thoughts on it. We'll see.
I don't know.
We'll see. Honestly, they probably postponed the other one because of, waiting till, in September, because I believe it was Malaya's side, because Daniel's side didn't know about it up until they got to court and realized that it wasn't going to happen that day. So they did push it off till the 16th or whatever, or 18th, one of the 2 days. But either or, I think it will be very telling what happens in that court case. The focus is on Meadow. And I think that Meadow's been the focus of a lot of this, to be honest with you. This is a child between Daniel and Malaya. And it's the only child between them, obviously. So we'll see how that all plays out, eh? It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, for sure.
See, that to me, though, is just another instance that you might have somebody say something or invoke something so that way they can, like, for instance, if Malaya truly believed that Daniel did something to the children and is being forced to not say anything, well, she's already left. Now there's a custody issue. She wants custody of her kids. She probably, if she thinks that Daniel did something, she probably doesn't want Daniel to be anywhere near her child. And so it just kind of seems like an opportunity for her to one, not put her other child in danger if Daniel did do something, and two, to put the guy that did something to her kids behind bars.
Christy won't let Daniel see his two kids outside of Daniel's mouth. His other two kids that he has that live in Halifax.
I understand that, but I'm talking about us referring to Malaya.
No. Yeah. No. Obviously, I'm just saying that
Okay.
Malaya, right? Obviously, Daniel was not allowed to see Meadow at all, right?
Okay.
Because of allegations of, maybe perhaps it was the math, maybe whatever.
Right.
The allegations, he could not see Meadow for at least a couple months, right? And now he gets those, visitations with Meadow. They both do, to see Meadow. So again, however this plays out, whatever. Honestly, Meadow, I just want her to be safe, healthy, and in a place of protection, and not what we're seeing going
How old
on
is
here.
Meadow?
Meadow is probably about, it was said between 16 and 18 months.
20
so let's
months.
go. So 20 months, probably about now. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's Jack and Lily. I want the best for Meadow. I want her to be in the most safest place possible. I hope that this court case goes in for the light of Meadow, what Meadow needs to be around. And so we'll see how that goes. But anyways, Jack and Lily are the ones that are missing here, regardless, not Meadow. That part can play out in court, how it does. But I'll be curious to see what happens with the whole thing. It has a gag order, yes, on it now. But I'll be curious to see how things play out. Should there not be any movement in the case up until that point. We still got over a month, basically, right? Before that comes. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just feel that there's a lot of opportunities here for law enforcement to uncover some nefarious behaviors or a criminal act if one happened. I think there's plenty of opportunities here. You had phone data, you have polygraphs, you have witness testimony from different persons that, yes, you might have some time a little bit off, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, whatnot. But for the most part, you have their witness testimony. I'm sure that there was more to the questions that they were asked outside of that. It sounded like the interview was 3 to 4 hours is what Daniel said in his interview.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of questions that were asked and a lot of things that were gone through. You also take in effect the type of persons or the history. This isn't a criminology student like Brian Koberger or anything like that. This isn't a guy that I highly doubt. I don't know, but I don't know where, I don't know if his IQ is at the 119 level like Brian Koberger is. And, to me, I just think that there's plenty of opportunities. Now, maybe the law enforcement is just that bad. I mean, that's possible.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, look at Delphi. Are they just that bad? It worries me, Daniel, because I do look at every angle. Like I literally look right at every angle. And of course, am I questioning, honestly, you would think a cadaver dog would have been brought in for sure, because that's normally happens in the United States. Cadaver dog right away. But there's things like this timing, why hasn't somebody been arrested at this point? Why are we just hearing about this blanket going to forensics? I know Daniel says that he's the one that pushed for this, but we could take that out of the equation. Wouldn't that be, if you find Lily's pink blanket down the freaking mile down the road, don't you think that blanket should have been in forensics right away? As after a week of searching and not finding diddly shit, wouldn't you think that blanket would have been tested? And so why are we just hearing about that now? Because the moment I heard about the blanket right at the start, I was like, oh, well, that thing's going to forensics. Duh. And yet we're just hearing about it now. And other items. Why are we just...
I mean, we're hearing about it now. Does that mean that it didn't go to forensics then?
Right. I know.
I would assume too that they probably would have, for at least, I mean, you're going to be looking for things that are visible right away, presumption of blood, things like that. If those things don't exist, you're going to be looking for hair, those type of things. And then I would assume, yeah, you probably want to check it for DNA of some sort, skin transfer cells, see who came in contact, see if there's an unknown DNA sample
Right.
associated with it. Because even if it comes back with Daniel's DNA on it or Janie's
Right.
or Malaya's, I mean, it was in their
Malaya's.
house. So the only evidentiary value that you would be able to find on there
It's unknown.
is if there's unknown, and
Yeah.
if there is known, it could mean a lot of things to be interpreted. I mean,
Well, that's
too
just it.
many.
Right. Because obviously the DNA of Malaya Daniel's going to be on there, whoever else, but it's about the unknown DNA, right? So, but it's just like, trust me, again, it's kind of like you have the side, like, why is there this game playing going on? Why isn't this why aren't people being forthcoming, consistent, reaching out and saying, hey, help us find Jack and Lily? You're wondering about all that stuff. By the same token, you're like, what the F are you guys doing over there, RCMP? Are you guys just a bunch of, muddle sticks over there? Or did you, meaning there was so the camera footage that you showed, Daniel, was 8 kilometers away from their home. The first one that you showed.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now they didn't collect that till a week after. Right. Now they did collect some camera footage that day, but why did it take them a week still, regardless, to go collect camera footage?
I don't know. I mean, law enforcement sometimes they don't work at the speed that we want them to. In the Brian Koberger case, there was footage that it took law enforcement almost a month to gather. In fact, there was some footage that the Gonzalez family were telling law enforcement existed, and they actually didn't get to it in time. It was rolled over. That was one of the reasons why the Gonzalez family opened up the possibility to sue the law enforcement in that area, was because of their lack of gathering evidence in a timely manner. And so that was over a month period in a quadruple homicide where people knew that people were passed in a, I don't know how small or big the area is where Jack and Lily disappeared. And so resources count, getting in touch with people, making contact with people, them producing the footage and them getting it back to law enforcement, so all those things kind of take time sometimes.
Absolutely. So, you know what? Jack and Lily. Where'd Charmaine go? Charmaine popped out.
Yes.
Jack and Lily is all we want answers for. I don't care who's culpable. If there's somebody culpable, again, RCMP will take care of that. Regardless, no matter what. Of course, we're going to look for, I never went on that whole Jack and Jack stuff at all when it came to the Koberger case. A lot of people did so instantly. I never did. I was just watching what was kind of playing out there. But like I said, what possibly seems like deception or lies, whatever, right? A lot of times, I think it was Plunder that probably said it best, if you know Plunder's channel.
Yeah.
There's sometimes that a person looks absolutely guilty, and yet they're absolutely innocent. And as I see Daniel, I just find that his actions are guilty of deception, right? By my own personal thoughts. Did he do something to Jack and Lily? Well, obviously the potential's there, just like Malaya, just like a cover-up. Could your theory be true? Could be. Don't know. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know, right, Daniel? We don't know what we don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
But there are things, right? So it really just becomes a fight for the missing and the murdered. And however this case turns out, again, if somebody's involved, may you reap what you sow, may karma come bite you 1,000 times over, to regardless, right? If they're out in the woods, which I highly don't suspect that they are based upon the searching, and it doesn't seem likely by what the family said, but there's still a small chance of it. They obviously haven't turned it into a criminal investigation, yet the things that they're doing are geared towards a criminal investigation, right? Like Daniel said that, the reporter said to Daniel, did they ask you any questions about, about them missing? And, do you think that, he said, nope, they were all geared towards about the killings of Jack and Lily. So those are his own words. So, I mean, that's obviously not looking for a missing person if if what he's saying is correct. Oh, there's Jeff. There's Jeff H. It's been a long time, dude.
What's up, Jeff?
Yeah, is he your best friend by yet? Jeff, you traitor? Nah,
Good, Jeffy.
gotta love Jeff. He's such a great guy. I love him. It's a coffee mug. He has a coffee mug. Yeah. But anyways, so yeah. So again, I just follow a case, how it plays out, But the oddities of this one are strange to me, absolutely. But we'll see.
Yeah, there's some red flags. I have not denied that. I've said multiple times that I think that if the most logical thing is to me that if somebody did something in that house, then all three are culpable. They all have three being Daniel, Malaya, and his mom, Janie, because they all have cooperating information and they have cooperated each other in some form or fashion with law enforcement about some of the details of the disappearance of their children. That happened throughout that entire time. They talked about hearing or seeing the kids. And, that kind of narrows down the timeline if it is true. But again, if one of them is lying, they're all lying. There's no in between. There's no way that one of them could have said, "Oh, I heard him," but I think Daniel's lying that he saw them because of whatever reason, or vice versa. I mean, it's corroborating information, and so, to me, if something happened, then you have three people that could have come up with that were involved. That's three times the likelihood for a mistake to be made. Three times. And so the fact that we hadn't found anything that would have led to an arrest or even a change of a missing persons to a criminal investigation is kind of telling to me, at least, that
I'm going to talk to my crystal ball tonight. I'm going to figure it all out, Daniel. That's what I'm saying. I'll be back tomorrow with all the answers.
Right. So yeah, but to me, I mean, when I watch what law enforcement are doing, and when I see what they're doing and how they're reacting and how they're not changing this or not doing that or whatever the case may be, their actions to things is telling. It's easy to determine, what law enforcement are thinking based on the information that they put out there of what they have done and what they have, where they have gone. And so to me, if, you had three people that would have lied three times, that somebody would have made a mistake. I mean, again, these aren't criminal mastermind folks. You have them already disagreeing with each other in some sort of sense. To me, I see them. You have a custody issue. You have a lot of things that are going on that would have made it very easy to turn somebody, and yet still can't figure out a simple clue that would have turned this from a missing persons investigation into a criminal investigation is telling to me. Those things are telling.
They are telling.
And the fact that they also have evidence against this guy, this is kind of like Ron Logan all over again, where they did everything. Like they were so hard for the FBI had a hard on for Ron Logan. They thought it was him. They thought he was the guy. And I said it when, they did all the searches and all these other things. I was like, if they found anything, they would have arrested him. And to me, you have CPS reports, you have black eyes on children, you have all these red flags. To me, if they would have found anything, what would lead them to not want to arrest him? You get what I'm saying? So that just kind of tells me they haven't found
for anyone that doesn't know the Delphi case, and a lot of you probably don't, considering you're out of Canada. The Delphi case, Ron Logan was the target up until the day he died during the C word in 2020. Okay. So Ron Logan, I mean, everything appeared to be, a lot of things geared towards to be. So you want to talk about a man that, and this could be Daniel. I mean, this could be Daniel. You want to talk about a man who lied, right? He lied about his alibi. And once you lie, and that's my thing with Daniel Martell, like, again, if there wasn't this inconsistency, so many, right from the start, and he would have just said, you know what, let me just clear that up for you guys. I mean, that's not what happened. But in saying that, everything looked that Ron Logan, he was lying. He lied about, because he wasn't supposed to be driving. So the reason why he was lying. Now, again, so coming back to this, so that man spent till his dying day being accused of being the bridge guy, and yet he was not. But a lot of it looked like it was. I mean, I wasn't buying into it. It took me maybe a week to go, this isn't bridge guy. All right.
Right.
But anyways.
And to me, I think Daniel is somewhat of a Ron Logan to the sense where, I mean, this would make things so much easier for law enforcement if they could just pin it on him. And you have the evidence beforehand. You have the CPS. You have the black eyes. You have all these cameras and people talking about the case and criticizing law enforcement's involvement. And yet, you know, to me, that just kind of spells that they want to solve this. And if they had any ounce of evidence that pointed in the direction of Daniel's involvement, I think they would have hopped over it. And I think that they have had plenty of opportunity to find it. And I think that, you know, those opportunities are plentiful, and yet they still can't. I mean, this guy is talking a lot, whether he's coming out on channels or messaging, he's talking a lot. He's putting out information. Some of it is contradicting, but yet it's not enough to with the evidence that they have to make a case. And
obviously not.
And I feel that when you have somebody who, like, these accusations have come up of abuse, these accusations of child mistreatment, that law enforcement are going to look at this guy and be like, you know what, we want to protect him. We want to protect this guy, so we're not going to do anything. I don't see that being part of the equation or the outcome of the scenarios that are there. I would think that law enforcement would see these red flags as well and be like, all right, let's try to make a case against this guy. And at this point, because they haven't arrested him, given the amount of time that it's taken, you know, to me, it seems like they got little there to prove that he actually did something. Doesn't mean he didn't, but I don't think they got enough evidence.
Okay, riddle me this. I need, because what's your thoughts on this? Okay, because Danielle Martell has no problem going in front of the news and talking to them. He has no problem popping in, like I said, like a whack-a-mole type of thing, ding, you know, in and out of different chats, leaving. It's almost like leaving, and I'm sorry, Daniel, but I'm going to say it this way. It's like leaving bird turd as you go everywhere, right? Here's some more info. Oh, this one doesn't register with this, but he will not go on anyone's lives at all. And I think myself, it's because he can't take a direct one-on-one coming at him. He can control the news by what he says. He can control the drippings that he gives, but he will not do anything. And trust me, nothing to go on somebody's live and just say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you guys are right. I'm fighting for Jack and Lily. You know, let's correct some things. He won't do it. He won't do it. Why? Oh,
I get it, but I mean, he's probably been on camera more than a lot of people, though.
No. Come on. Why?
I mean, he doesn't really owe anybody any of those.
He doesn't owe anybody.
But he's also been on camera quite a bit. I mean, he did a pretty extensive interview with whoever it was that he disclosed that he did the lie detector test and stuff like that. That was an extensive interview. The interview could have asked some better questions, in my opinion. Could have maybe not asked better questions, but could have piggybacked some of the questions. You know, I asked him to join us tonight. In full disclosure, I sent him the link. I didn't hear from him. Nope. And so, but, you know, I don't take that as he's hiding from me, or he thinks that I'm going to uncover something, or whatever the case may be. I think that there's a possibility that he also realizes that every time he's come out on camera, all the people that are wanting him to come and do an interview have just looked at every expression he's made, everything he's done, and look at him with a microscope and come up with something to say that he was involved or not involved. And up to this point, he's probably seen more negative comments than positive. And so that probably plays a role into why he doesn't want to come out anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
not buying into any of that, but whatever. Meaning I absolutely, I asked you to hear your answer. Right. You know what? Cheryl C., you precious thing, you. The reason why, because sorry, I blocked her the other day. But anyways, Cheryl C., to answer you that, you're right. Daniel, Malaya, nobody owes anybody anything. You're right. They owe Jack and Lily. They owe Jack and Lily the truth and honesty. They owe that to Jack and Lily. So as for the information, absolutely. They can play whatever games they want or non-games, whatever. They can talk, they can not talk. It's totally up to them. I mean, honestly, that's just a given, right? But they owe Jack and Lily answers because they were in their care when they disappeared.
I don't disagree with you there. I don't disagree with you at all there. But who do they owe those answers to? And have they been compliant with those answers? Like, for instance, those answers are owed to law enforcement.
Yeah.
And have they? I mean, we don't know. I mean, I don't know everything that has been asked of him. I don't know if Malaya's talking to law enforcement on the phone 3 times a week and it just isn't telling anybody that. I have no idea. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff that we just don't know. And I don't think that Malaya is keeping in contact with Daniel to tell Daniel that she's talking to law enforcement, going through a custody battle right now.
They're right.
So their communication, she's blocked him and stuff like that. So he would have no earthly idea how much communication, if any, or if a ton, that she could have with law enforcement. There's so many unknowns here. And I see the red flags 100%. And my thing is I'm fairly positive that law enforcement would have seen him a long time ago and investigated him as well. My thing is you have 3 people who, if something nefarious happened, they all would have had to have been involved. And you would have had to have had 3 people make statements that even at this moment when there is a conflict between them, and that conflict being a child custody issue, and you also have some form or fashion of blame towards the other party, and they still can come up with to change it from a missing person to a criminal investigation. Absolutely. Just kind of screams some certain things to me.
That's what's going on, right? It's kind of like you're watching this happen on the one side, and then by the same token, right? Then by the same token, you're just like going like, what's going on in the RCMP land? Like, why isn't there no arrests if this is obvious, right?
Right, exactly.
So I do get that for sure on there. But anyway,
and like I said, I'm not saying y'all are wrong or right. I have no idea. I'm don't know. I could just say that the actions of law enforcement are indicative of something different.
You're like, I'm not going to disagree there, Daniel, right? Like I said, it is that this is one of those things is like most of us are going, okay, this is pretty obvious by what's going on. And that's after time has transpired. But then, hey, again, why has there been no arrest yet? And then you keep questioning that. Okay, is that because they don't have enough, that they're just waiting for him to hang himself, that this is happening? Like, where's the truth? That's all you want. Jack and Lily deserve the truth to what happened to them. That's it.
And for Ida, look up Brad Simpson. He's gotten arrested and they haven't found his wife's body. There's a lot of people who've gotten arrested without a body. You don't need a body to make an arrest.
Correct. Look at Harmony, right? Montgomery.
Or Brian Welsh.
Brian Welsh with Anna Welsh. Yeah.
Many cases you don't need a body to make an arrest. If you had the evidence there that something nefarious happened and you have all of these issues, like I said, maybe the law enforcement just suck. I mean, it's possible.
It's possible.
Law enforcement could just, flat out suck.
After Delphi has left me so sketchy of thinking that 101 is 101. To do things. Remember, Daniel, that they literally threw the sticks off their dead, poor, unalive bodies.
Yeah.
And then they had to go back a couple days later to get the sticks. So it didn't matter that they had, all the stuff on them from their neck and whatever. But no. Let's just throw the sticks to the side because that's not evidence, right? Mm-hmm. How crazy is that? How crazy is that?
That there was enough there that I'll be honest, Ricky Allen could have gotten off because of this of how bad law enforcement was.
You're right.
Yeah, he could have gotten off because of that.
Hey, you know what? This is when you gotta freaking say your prayers, thank the Lords above, and be like, the right person is in prison for Richard Allen and the Delphi case. Horrible case, guys. 7 years. and it's still going on because of the what is it, a retrial or whatever it's called?
They're going to do a retrial?
Not a retrial. What is it when they
an appeal?
Appeal. Thanks you. Couldn't.
Oh man, you scared me there. I thought they gave him a retrial.
Sorry,
like,
my bad.
Seriously?
My bad. No.
Holy crap.
No. I don't see this man getting a retrial, to be honest with you, but we'll see how that plays out. But anyways, anyway, I don't know. Are we done? Or you? So I gotta go pee though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, we're hitting almost in 3 hours. I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for joining. I know we don't completely agree. I hope you don't see that. I don't completely disagree with you guys.
Nah, Daniel.
I more agree with you guys than you think. And I do think that there is some evidence that
your wife.
I do think that there's some evidence there that law enforcement are looking at Daniel. I mean, if they're following him when his phone turns off, that's a pretty big indication that they're looking at him for something. They haven't given up on it. They're not letting him out of their sights for a reason.
No.
And so, I just feel that there would have been, more by now if there was something nefarious, but we'll see what happens. Do you think, I know somebody asked me, this will be the last question.
Sure.
Do you think that law enforcement are going to come out in light of this article and make a statement?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah. Do you think that law enforcement will come out and make a statement in reference to this article?
I think there's a possibility of that. I think there's a possibility of another kind of updatey thing, regardless, coming out. I think not because I know, I don't. I know that another article is coming out Monday, you guys, so be prepared for that one as well. And that, don't forget, on Saturday in Nova Scotia, this case will be front page for Jack&Lilly on there. But Monday will be a part 2 to this. And Julia, it will be more to target what you were talking about. Yeah. Oh, no.
Charmaine says she does not, RCMP does nothing they don't want to do regardless of
I don't think this is pressure. I don't think this is pressure, to be honest with you.
I mean, it could turn into pressure. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to look at this and automatically assume that Daniel is guilty based on the stuff there, and I see why. I don't fault anybody for thinking that way. I see the red flags. I'm not going to argue with somebody who says, "Oh, I think he's guilty because of all this." I agree with you. There's some red flags there, but if the See, I can see our RCMP allowing the pressure of this article to affect Daniel to see if he breaks or pops in something. But maybe. I do think that if they don't think that he's involved, they may have to say something because his life could then become in danger.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because somebody could be like, because I think he's already gotten threats and stuff. At least that's what he said. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, it would be abnormal if a case didn't be online and Daniel, Malaya, and everybody else get threats. You could be the most innocent person of a case and have nothing to do, and you will get threats. That's the way the internet sadly works, because there's a bunch of, those people, those wacko jackos out there that are totally insane when it comes to cases. Like, you know what I mean? So that's why Kent, when he gave his phone number, I'm like, Kent, dude, you don't put your phone number over the internet like that. You just don't.
Yeah.
It's crazy's calling.
well, Sonny, I want to thank you again. Please. We got to do this again when more information comes out.
I was going to say, Daniel, you know how much I respect you, dude. Please give our best to Jaime and Big Blue. But absolutely, again, I just want you to look at it how you see it. That's all I want, right? I'm going to have my take. Like me, Charmaine, and Kent, we all have differences of opinions when it comes to this case, right? Because if we all thought the same, then why would I want to look elsewhere if we all thought the same? Of course, there's nothing put in stone with regards to this case for me. What might look like something could possibly be something for sure. But there's a chance that it might not be either. At the end of the day, it's about, Jack and Lily need the answers. The people that should be being their voices is the family members that want answers for Jack and Lily as well, right? Unless they already know the answers. That's,
Yeah. No, true. Well, guys, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. I'll be back on tomorrow around 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. That's going to be 2:30 on the West Coast. Me and Dr. Vaughn are going to be looking at the crime scene photos dropped in the Brian Koberger case. And then on Monday, I'm going to have Steve from True Crime Web. He is a former CSI, retired CSI investigator who's going to look at the same crime scene photos and anything else that drops and give us his perspective based on his experience and knowledge from the field. And then we're going to have Barbara Hall on Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about the Timothy Dees case. You guys don't want to miss those. Please like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell so that way you're notified when we do go live. Until next time, guys, we'll see y'all later. Peace.
Bye, guys.